Baseball on ESPN, presented by Taco Bell. Two of the game's most historic and iconic franchises, the San Francisco Giants and the St. Louis Cardinals, in the rubber match of a three-game series here at Busch Stadium in St. Louis on an absolutely gorgeous evening here in the Midwest. The Giants are on a roll right now. In spite of their loss last night, they've still won 18 out of 23. They're four ahead of the Dodgers rather. The Dodgers beating the Braves again today. The Cardinals actually trying to make up some ground. The Cubs actually lost a game today. St. Louis trying to move back within 10 games of the lead in the NL Central if they could win this game here tonight. Something a little bit different for you here tonight, as we're not doing the game from a booth.
Oh, look how polite you are there, Dan.
On camera.
Yeah, that's true.
Canadian, you know.
That's right.
We're doing the game from the seats in center field. Our first of three consecutive Sunday from the seats games. Aaron is the red skittle, I'm the blue skittle, and we're trying to figure things out in our broadcast location here in center field at Busch Stadium. That's where we are, the party deck in straightaway center field, about 400 feet away from the plate, and up here in the second deck and looking right into the sun right now. Going to be tough on the right fielder, and going to be tough on us at the beginning of the game. Dan Shulman, Aaron Boone. Jessica Mendoza is covering the Women's College World Series. She'll be back with us next week in San Francisco. We mentioned the Giants have been hot. They've won 18 of their last 23 games, and the biggest reason why has been outstanding starting pitching. They have a terrific top three, of course, led by Madison Bumgarner, who's got an ERA under 2 right now. Johnny Cueto is having a sensational season. And Jeff Samardzija hit a little speed bump last night, gave up 4 home runs in the game last night to the Cardinals, but still overall he's doing really well. Jake Peavy's pitching better as well. He's tonight's starter. He has pitched well in 3 of his last 4 starts. Aaron, when you look at Peavy recently, what's been the difference?
Command. And it's so important that he locates starting with his fastball, because he doesn't have the overpowering stuff as he did several seasons ago when he was a Cy Young Award winner. But you can see there, 1 earned run in 3 of the last 4 starts. Keep an eye tonight on his misses, because he pitches to both sides of the plate. He cannot miss out over the heart of the plate, or this Cardinal team will make you pay with the extra base hit or the long ball.
They're hitting a ton of home runs this year, 76 on the season so far. For St. Louis on the mound, an electric young arm. Carlos Martinez, of course, has worked his way into a more prominent role over the last couple of years, and a guy they're counting on for bigger and bigger things. Buster asked Mike Matheny, his office, before the game, where is he in his development right now? And Matheny's word was maturing. How do you buy that?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I think he's a real key for this Cardinal staff, because his ceiling is so high. And Mike Matheny talked about him being a field pitcher, and what we saw him make a nice adjustment in his last start. The previous start on the left here was against the Chicago Cubs, where he really struggled, and you see a faster motion. Here on the right against the Brewers, where he was dominating, he really slowed his pace down. He was in better command of his emotions, and as a result, he commanded his fastball much better, which is so key, because look, in a huge National League where the pitching's so good, he needs to be that ace of this staff to match up against the other greats.
With more on Martinez and more on that, let's go down to Buster Olney.
That's right, and Boone, you're right about the landscape of National League contenders. They're filled with aces. The Giants with Bumgarner, Johnny Cueto, the Dodgers with Kershaw, the Cubs with Jake Arrieta, John Lester, the Nationals, Max Scherzer, Steven Strasburg, the Mets with Noah Syndergaard and the rest of their starters. So Carlos Martinez really needs to step up and be a frontline starting pitcher. Mike Matheny said about him, plus stuff, he's still finding his personality on the mound. Dan, back to you.
Buster, thank you. Mike Matheny getting his guys revved up for the game. It's a gorgeous night. There's our spot. Here we are out in center field, getting ready to bring you the Giants and the Cardinals here Sunday from the seats on ESPN. Should be fun tonight here at Busch Stadium. Sunday Night Baseball on ESPN is presented by the new $1.49 steak flatbread sandwich at Taco Bell. It's all the steak, none of the sacrifice. And in part by Nissan, innovation that excites. And USAA, insurance, banking, and investments tailored for the military community. Welcome back to St. Louis. Dan Shulman and Aaron Boone. Buster Olney as well. Glad you're with us for Sunday Night Baseball. Some of the history of this great franchise, the St. Louis Cardinals. They've won more World Series than any other National League team. They have won 11 championships in their history. Of course, most recently in 2011. They will host the San Francisco Giants tonight, with the Giants winning on Friday night and the Cardinals answering back, hitting 4 home runs and winning 7-4 last night. Let's check out the starting lineup for the Giants right now, and it's brought to you by Taco Bell.
Well, Dan, we know about the offseason additions to the starting rotation. Denard Span to the top of this lineup, and he's been everything they could have hoped for. More walks than strikeouts. Really a guy that works the count very well at the top of this order. And Brandon Belt, after signing that new contract early in the season, really rounding into just a consistent all-around player, 7th in the National League in on-base percentage.
You can see no Buster Posey in the lineup. He gets a night off. Bruce Bochy saying with the off day tomorrow wants to give him consecutive days off before they get set to take on the Red Sox Tuesday in San Francisco. On the mound tonight for the Cardinals, a guy with a big arm. Not a big guy, 6 foot 190, 24 years of age, but Carlos Martinez could have reached 98 miles per hour. It's his 4th year in the big leagues. It's his 2nd year as a starter. He won 14 games, was an all-star last year. And when you look at the composition of the staff, Adam Wainwright's pitching much better now than he did earlier in the season, but John Lackey's gone and Lance Lynn is injured and so on and so on. And whereas this guy has only ever pitched in the playoffs as a reliever before, 16 career playoff appearances, all as a reliever, he's going to be a very important part of their rotation through the rest of the season. And if they make the playoffs, not only would he be starting, he might be starting awfully early in a playoff series.
Yeah, especially if he finds that consistency that matches up with his stuff. Fastball, slider, occasional curveball, and a changeup. That changeup could be an important pitch for him tonight, as 6 of the 8 regulars left-handed hitters against Carlos Martinez.
So here comes Span, the offseason free agent signee. He'll be followed by Joe Panik and Matt Duffy. Span hitting .263 on the season, a couple of home runs and 23 runs driven in. The Giants in the road grays and the Cardinals in the home whites with the red trim. A full house as always here at Busch Stadium, and ready for baseball here on this Sunday night. James Hoy is the home plate umpire. And we're underway with a pitch that the umpire James Hoy felt was high for ball 1. Yadier Molina doing the catching for Carlos Martinez. For Molina, his 52nd start in 57 games this year. And in 3 of the 5 games in which he didn't start Boone, he came into the game as a pinch hitter, a double switch, something like that. So he's appeared in 55 out of 57, which is extraordinary for a catcher.
Well, especially when you consider that they expected him to start the season on the disabled list, coming back from that thumb injury. He beat the timeline, came out, got off to a great start, and continues to be that Iron Man behind home plate for the Cardinals.
Has won 8 consecutive Gold Gloves. Martinez out in front, 1-2, and misses just off the outside corner at 98 miles an hour.
And that 98 followed up 86, the changeup at the bottom of the zone. And look at Yadier Molina on a 1-2 count jump out there and just find out how far James Hoy, the home plate umpire, may be willing to go, and perhaps setting up this next pitch closer to the edge.
2-2, grounded down to first, and Matt Adams will feed Martinez, covering for out number 1. Going to look at what our vantage point is tonight. Here we are.
Yeah, it feels like Doug Glanville up here. Now I know what Dougie's looking at sometimes. A nice view up here.
Yeah, it is nice. We've done this a few times over the last couple of years. We're going to do it the next 2 weeks as well. Next week at AT&T Park in San Francisco, and then 2 weeks from now at Wrigley Field. Joe Panik is the batter, the second baseman, who's hit over 300 in each of his first 2 years in the big leagues, hitting .251 so far this year. And there's one right on the edge at 97 for a called strike.
And that was the first time he sped up his delivery. Maybe a little a la Johnny Cueto, you know, very, and as Mike Matheny talked about, a feel pitcher. More pace to his delivery there.
The 1-1 to Panic. And he chases that changeup down and out of the zone. It's 1-2.
Take a look at that delivery of Carlos Martinez here. A little faster than he started the game out. The excellent arm action. And the bottom just falls out of that really good straight changeup.
So he's got right about what you want, which is that 10-mile-an-hour difference between the fastball and the changeup. And of course, when the fastball is coming in at 97 or 98, you got to react as quickly as you can to whatever you see. Always amazes me when a guy that's not that big throws that hard. Maybe generously listed at 6 foot and 190 pounds. Just 24 years of age. Sinking liner is caught out in left field by Matt Holliday for out number 2.
Well, good job all around here. Joe Panic does a good job of just serving this ball the other way on a good fastball up and away. And being out here in the outfield that we are, as soon as I looked up at Matt Holliday, he got a great break on this ball, comes in with that sliding catch for the second out of this inning. You see the concentration. You see him kind of get to the side so he can go into a nice slide, and the reach out definitely does catch that ball. And I'm sure Carlos Martinez appreciative of his veteran left fielder making a play for him.
So 2 down here in the top of the first, and the batter is the Giants' third baseman, second-year player Matt Duffy. Duffy had a great rookie year, was the runner-up for National League Rookie of the Year behind Chris Bryant of the Cubs. Hit .295, drove in 77 runs. It has not gone as well for him here in his sophomore season, just .234. And you saw the numbers on the road. It's really remarkable. He's hitting .353 at home this year and .125 on the road. And we're 2 months into the season here. And I don't know how you would feel. I'm sure you would say, well, it's just one of those fluky things. There shouldn't be a reason for it, but a huge difference between home and road.
You know, one of the theories about Duffy struggling a little bit is the way teams have defensed him. He's so adept at working the ball through the middle and the other way. Well, teams have really started to play him to the opposite field, especially in the outfield, and we've seen him pitch him.
Chased a breaking ball down and away, and it's going to get all the way to the backstop, and Duffy is going to reach. So that's a strikeout for Martinez, but Duffy aboard on the wild pitch.
There's that nasty slider that really allows Martinez to dominate right-handed hitters, because it can be wicked along with that mid-upper 90s fastball. And Duffy, not a guy that usually chases real bad, looks bad on a pitch down and away, but Yadier not able to block this slider in the dirt, goes for more of the backhand and probably should have slid over and tried to block that. And the Giants have themselves a base runner.
With 2 down for Brandon Belt. With no Posey in the lineup tonight and no Pence for a while, the Giants are without their outstanding right fielder for, it sounds like, upwards of 8 weeks after suffering a hamstring injury during the week. He will need surgery. That will happen this week. So it's a different looking lineup right now for San Francisco. Well, that ball is going to drop into center field for a base hit, and around second on his way to third is Duffy standing up, and the Giants now with the runners on the corners.
Well, looks like the pitch gets in on the hands of Brandon Belt. Looks like a fastball that kind of jams him, but with 2 outs, of course, Duffy, who runs pretty well, is on the move. You see it in on the handle there, perhaps breaking the bat of Belt, because it just kind of drifts out in center field. Even with 2 outs, Duffy able to easily get to third. You see him kind of pull the hands in there, just fight that ball off through the middle of the field. Duffy reads that well. Well, first and third opportunity now for Brandon Crawford.
With 2 down, Crawford hitting .272. He's got 30 RBIs already on the season. 23 of them came in the month of May. Wow. Billy Hayes still got it.
Yeah. Do it, Billy.
Not even a smirk?
Nah, stone face him.
Man, if that was you, you'd be doing handstands.
Yeah, I'd be doing some kind of dance.
0-1 the count on Crawford, who won a Silver Slugger Award last year and a Gold Glove Award as both the best hitting and fielding shortstop of the National League. 21 homers and 84 runs driven in last year. Guy who's really developed more power, more opposite field power in the last couple of years. Hot recently, especially with the runners in scoring position. 16 for his last 32 with the runners in scoring position. He's got one out there right now in that situation, but he cannot capitalize as Martinez freezes him with strike 3 call to end the inning. So the Giants threaten but don't score. Coming back to the bottom of the first after this. Going to the bottom of the first here at Busch Stadium. Sunday Night Baseball on ESPN. Dan Shulman, Aaron Boone, Buster Olney, and Jake Peavy on the mound for the Giants tonight. Check out the lineup that he will face. The Cardinal lineup tonight is brought to you by Taco Bell.
Well, Ledmus Diaz in that 2-hole has been outstanding. Has gotten an opportunity and taken full advantage. .324 average, 6th in the National League. And what about Stephen Piscotty becoming one of the really good all-around players in this game? Outstanding defensively and 10th in the National League in hitting out of the cleanup spot.
A real struggle for Peavy at the outset of the season, but 3 of his last 4 have been good. Overall, he's 2-5 with a .634 ERA. In his last start, albeit against Atlanta, 7 innings, just 1 hit allowed, faced the minimum. And he's got 149 career wins, looking for a career win number 150 tonight. A former Cy Young Award winner with the Padres back in 2007. The always patient and extremely impactful leadoff hitter for the Cardinals, Matt Carpenter, gets it started. Carpenter doing his thing, drawing walks, getting on base, scoring runs, extra base hits, tied for 3rd in the National League in that department. And a fly ball to left center field. Gregor Blanco is there to put it away, 1 down.
Again, with Peavy, he's going to throw about 75% version of the fastball, whether it be straight 4-seam, a lot of sinkers, and then the cut fastball, and then he'll work a breaking ball and a changeup in off of that. But that command of the different fastballs, critical to his success tonight.
Critical to the Cardinals' success so far this season has been the play of shortstop Ledmus Diaz. Hit a 3-run homer yesterday. In last night's game, the Cardinals were down 4-0 to Jeff Samardzija, who was dealing. A 3-run homer by Diaz in the 5th inning tied it at 4, and he hit that home run on a 3-0 pitch. And he's just continued to swing the bat tremendously well for the Cardinals ever since he got the opportunity earlier in the year.
That was a great job by Matheny of turning a young player, trusting a young player in that situation, knowing that he was dealing, and he would get, knowing that Jeff Samardzija was really locked in, and that might be the best opportunity they had all night. Sure enough, he came with a 4-seamer in the heart of the plate and hit a rocket off the foul pole down the left field line. And that sparked what was a huge victory, I think, for the St. Louis Cardinals against a hot team and pitcher.
Pops it up on the infield for Belt. 2 down. Now a guy who's been around these parts for a long time, Matt Holliday. With 9 home runs, 31 RBIs already on the season in the last guaranteed year of his 7-year deal. The club has an option on him for another season next year. I think for a lot more power than he did last year, and all you have to do is look at those pictures of him and know that he's still a presence. He's still menacing in that batter's box.
Yeah, and I don't know if the pictures do him justice. Just being around him before the game and shaking your hand, he's a beast.
I think if we had a tug of war against him, 2 against 1, not only do we lose fast.
Yeah, maybe if we added Buster Olney to our side.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Difference maker.
Difference maker. Yeah, game changer right there.
Thanks for joining us here in center field. Sunday from the seats here at Busch Stadium. Called strike on a Holiday as he questions James Hoy, and the count is 0-2.
And Matt's asking him right there, did I swing on the pitch? And James Hoy said no, and that's why he took a breath and said is frustrated with the call, because he definitely felt like this ball was in off the plate. That's the sinker that he starts on the inside corner and runs off.
And a swing and a miss to get him on 3 pitches and end the inning. So a very good start for Jake Peavy tonight here in St. Louis. No score at the end of 1. Back in St. Louis, top of the 2nd inning here on Sunday Night Baseball. No score between the Giants and the Cardinals. Gregor Blanco is going to lead off the inning against Carlos Martinez. Blanco 4 for 4 in his career against Martinez. Blanco is in left field tonight. Jarrett Parker is in right field tonight. Angel Pagan is on the DL. And Hunter Pence has gone on the DL. As this ground ball to first. Easy play for Matt Adams. 1 out. Here is the Hunter Pence situation. Re-injuring his right hamstring. It happened on Wednesday, and you could tell it was serious right away by the way that he stopped. I mean, he couldn't even make it to first base, was hardly putting any weight on the leg he has. He's going to require surgery on a hamstring tendon, and Aaron, this is a major loss on the field for the Giants.
Absolutely. I mean, the record bears it out how good the Giants are with him in the lineup and how much they struggle without him. And his first 7 years in the big leagues, 08 through 14, 154 plus, but the last couple years he's had a couple different stints on the disabled list, and he's just such a glue guy, so important to the success of this team. It'll be interesting to see how the Giants piece this thing together.
Let's go down to Buster for more.
Yeah, guys, and they've just started the process of looking through possible trade options in the market this summer, and I think a general rule is that they would prefer a right-handed hitter, but in the market they're probably going to be more left-handed hitters available. This is something that's going to play out before the August 1st deadline. Some of the names you're going to hear about: Ryan Braun of the Milwaukee Brewers, who's owed about $93 million on his contract. He's hitting well over 300. Jay Bruce, Cincinnati Reds, he's been available. And then you talk about John Jay, perhaps, of the San Diego Padres. So they're going to be going through a lot of these outfielders as we get close to the trade deadline, while gauging Hunter Pence and how he's doing in his rehab. And remember, Angel Pagan is due back probably in about a week, and maybe that'll lessen the push.
There's a swing and a miss to get Parker 2 down. So let's back up some of the names that Buster gave us visually here. Aaron, do you see one of these guys as a potential fit or a better potential fit than any of the others for the Giants if they decide to trade for somebody?
Well, in the immediate future, this year, that is, Ryan Braun would be a huge upgrade. Now, obviously, there's all kinds of things that come with Ryan Braun, as Buster talked about. $90 million still owed to him. The injury history that he had. The PED history that he's had. So there's a lot. It's a lot more complicated in going after a Ryan Braun. Now, if you go off into the other guys, if they get into a need situation, I really like John Jay. Even though he's another left-handed hitter, I think he's a guy that would fit well with this team, because even when you get Pagan back or you get Hunter Pence back, John Jay's not a guy that has to play every day, but he kind of fits the mold that the Giants like, especially when they get into the postseason. He's a guy that doesn't strike out a lot, gives you quality at bats against good pitching, can play all 3 outfield positions. So if things go well with Hunter Pence and they do get him back, that may be a route they go. In the meantime, it'll be interesting to see how Jarrett Parker, who just struck out, who came up last year and hit 6 home runs and 49 at bats. This is a guy that's been streaky throughout his minor league career. He's a guy that if he can get hot, maybe he bridges that gap a little bit to Hunter Pence and Angel Pagan coming back.
Trevor Brown, the catcher, is the batter. 2 balls, 2 strikes the count. Swing and a miss at a slider from Martinez, and that's the inning. 4 strikeouts already for Carlos Martinez. Welcome back to St. Louis. We are at Busch Stadium number 3. This opened on April 10th of 2006, and the Cardinals won the World Series that year, their inaugural season in this ballpark. And how good have they been? They've hosted 38 postseason games already in this ballpark that's only been around for 10 years. Such a great run of success recently, and of course way back as well, for one of the great franchises that this sport has ever seen. And there's something, as Aaron said before the game, there's just something about that, the jersey and the logo and the cap, and it kind of gets you, doesn't it?
Absolutely. They're going with their alternate cap tonight, which I'm not as big a fan of. That classic red STL hat is sweet.
Bottom 2, no score, and Stephen Piscotty leads it off against Jake Peavy and looks at a strike. Piscotty hitting in the cleanup spot, moved there recently. He's just having a terrific year, hitting over 300, continues to develop his power. On the appeal down to first, he didn't go. He has even played, not tonight, but he's even played 3 games in center field. It's been an up and down year so far for Randall Grichuk. So sometimes when Mike Matheny's looking for more offense, he might put Brandon Moss in right field and move Piscotty to center. A guy who was mostly an infielder in college, doing it all on both sides of the ball as he lifts a fly ball to right field, 1 down. 4 up, 4 down so far for Peavy. Piscotty retired. And here comes a hot hitter now for the Cardinals in first baseman Matt Adams. He's 18 for his last 43, Boone. The power has come back. And again with St. Louis, there's so much versatility, so many options. The bench is really good, whoever's on the bench on any given night. But Matt Adams is saying to Mike Matheny, I don't want to be a part-time player. I don't want to be on the bench. I want to be in there every day in a key spot in the lineup.
Well, and they want him in the lineup, so he's the one guy that when he gets it rolling, they're going to roll him out there because they know the true power potential in there and the impact he can have on a daily basis.
He was another one of the Cardinals to hit a home run last night. They hit 4 on Jeff Samardzija. Solo shot on an 0-1 count gave the Cardinals the lead. They would go from a 4-0 deficit to a 7-4 win thanks to those 4 home runs. He got 76 home runs on the season, came into play today, tied with the Mets for the National League lead in home runs. And this is not an offense, as good a team as this has been in recent years, this is not an offense that's been built around the home run. But they've already got 9 different players with at least 6 home runs this season.
Yeah, it's remarkable. I mean, on pace to have 9 guys with over 1,500s. That's, and they've been great on a nightly basis, as you touched on the bench, having different options nightly. There's Brandon Moss, who leads the Cardinals in home runs. I believe 3 of those 11 have come as a pinch hitter. But just a lot of matchup possibilities on a nightly basis. There's Greg Garcia, who has really made the most of his playing opportunities.
Count remains 2-2 on Adams. We'll talk about it in more depth if and when a pinch hitting opportunity comes along later in the game. But their pinch hitting numbers, they're not good. They're not great. They're preposterous, really, at this point of the season, what they've done. 10 pinch hit home runs already on the season for the Cardinals. Washington's got 8. Pittsburgh's got 4. Nobody else has more than 2. There have been 44 pinch hit home runs hit in baseball this year. And granted, National League teams pinch hit a lot more than American League teams do. But the Cardinals have 10 of the 44 pinch hit home runs that have been hit in baseball this year coming into play today.
You know, we were kind of talking about last week when we had Clayton Kershaw. At the time, he was 105 strikeouts to 5 walks, and it's hard to wrap your mind around that. Similar with 10 pinch hit home runs at this point, and Adam Wainwright up to his normal hijinks on the bench, keeping things loose over there. But Mike Matheny was joking before the game that guys were saying, hey, maybe I get a night off and get my home run total up by getting a pinch hit tonight.
If you want to hit one out, the bench is the place to be for the Cardinals. Got to make a manager feel good, though. He never lets anybody sit for too long. He can always get a favorable matchup.
Well, that's the thing, Dan, because they have so much versatility and so many guys that are getting regular at bats. The guys on the bench on the nightly basis are fresh and have had regular at bats, so they're a little more prepared and in a little better place and a little better groove when they're getting those at bats in good matchup situations.
Colton Wong on the bench tonight. Greg Garcia getting a start at second. We haven't even mentioned Johnny Peralta, who's due back off the DL Tuesday as this at bat continues. That was the 10th pitch already as Adams continues to fight them off. Peralta's expected back Tuesday in Cincinnati. He's been playing a lot of third base on rehab. And sounds like Matt Carpenter will move over, play a fair bit of second base. Colton Wong's playing time looks like it could be affected. He's not having a great year. They're going to leave Diaz at short for the most part with the way that he's swinging the bat. What a job by Adams to work a walk. Sunday Night Baseball on ESPN, presented by Taco Bell, is brought to you by Charles Schwab. Own your tomorrow. And Roundup Sure Shot Wand. Target weeds more precisely than ever. So Matt Adams aboard, the first base runner of the night for the Cardinals, an 11-pitch walk. And here's Yadier Molina, 0 for his last 18, hitting .257 on the season. First pitch swinging and a fly ball to shallow left center field. It brings in Blanco, 2 down. More Major League action coming your way this week on ESPN. Tomorrow night, it'll be the team with the best record in baseball, the Chicago Cubs, taking on the Philadelphia Phillies, 7 Eastern on ESPN2. Tuesday night, the Mets and the Pirates on ESPN2, and then a doubleheader coming your way Sunday night. The Cardinals and Pirates at 5 Eastern will be in San Francisco for the Giants and the Dodgers 1 week from tonight. The Dodgers at the moment 4 back of the Giants in the National League West. They pounded Atlanta today, swept the series. Corey Seager hit 2 more home runs today for the Dodgers after hitting 3 on Friday night. He's got 14 home runs now on the season.
Trevor Story, the fine shortstop for the Rockies, raced out to the early lead in that Rookie of the Year conversation. But Corey Seager, you know, similar to like Stephen Piscotty, there's just a real maturity to his at bats, and now the power really starting to lock in, and they need him in the middle of that lineup to be that kind of 1-2 punch with Adrian Gonzalez.
Just turned 22. Greg Garcia looks at his strike. So Garcia has spent part of the year with the Cardinals, but also part of the year down at AAA Memphis. He's been known as a great pinch hitter. He's actually not done that much pinch hitting for the Cardinals this year, but he's 2 for 3 doing that. He's 14 for 28 overall. He's hitting .500, limited at bats obviously, and he's also walked 9 times. So he's been on base all the time. But again, they've got Wong, they've got Jerko, they've got Diaz, Peralta's coming back. How do you move people around? Where do you play people? But you know, when Peralta comes back, somebody's got to go. We don't know who it's going to be, but this guy's hitting 500.
It's going to be a real difficult decision. It could even be a surprise decision of a guy that's been here and you don't expect to get sent down. But that's the kind of depth that the Cardinals have created here.
Fouls off that cutter from Peavy, and the count is 2-2. Jake Peavy, 35 years of age, turned 35 last week. Made his major league debut as a Padre back in 2002. We mentioned the Cy Young he won in San Diego, was with the White Sox, was with the Red Sox. With the Giants now for a number of years, playing for the manager that he had for some of those years in San Diego, Bruce Bochy. They go way back. Does not throw nearly as hard as he used to. Took a little bit off with a changeup there, and he gets Garcia swinging to end the inning. A man left on. We're at the end of 2 no score. We'll be joined by Giants pitching coach Dave Righetti live when we come back. Welcome back to St. Louis. Jake Peavy on the mound for the Giants tonight. He's had 3 good starts in his last 4. We mentioned he faced the minimum through 7 innings, allowed just 1 hit in his last start against Atlanta, and he's off to a very good start here tonight. He's not allowed to hit through the first 2 innings. He's going to lead off the 3rd inning for the Giants as we welcome in the pitching coach for the longtime pitching coach for the San Francisco Giants, Dave Righetti, who joins us live from the Giants dugout. Hi, Dave.
Danny, what's up, Aaron? All right, guys.
Thanks for joining us. Tell us what's been the difference for Peavy the last couple of times out.
Most of it is backing off. He's a very aggressive guy and wants to, go through the wall, so to speak, to get things done because he doesn't want to leave anything on the table. But there's a point in your career you got to back off, think about late movement and strike 1, and get these at bats over a little sooner than he had been before. And that's really a philosophy a little bit, other than nothing really mechanical.
Dave, is there anything in game that you do with Jake, who's obviously very fiery and emotional, to just kind of keep him in that good frame of mind?
Yeah, he likes talking on the bench and talking about what he's just done or what have you. And so I listen. And if he needs some feedback or he wants to know what to do with a hitter here and there, you know, I try to help him with that. And you know, that's, to me, I like the engagement during the game. You know, you feel as a coach sometimes, you know, you're not doing enough. That's just the way we've always feel. But, you know, when a guy like that is engaging with you, you know, it makes it a little bit easier to figure him out.
Well, you've got a very impressive rotation, Dave. Obviously, Madison Bumgarner, everybody knows about him and what he's done over the last several years. ERA is under 2 right now. It wasn't vintage Bumgarner in the spring, and then his first two of his first 3, they weren't bad, but they weren't your usual Bumgarner kind of starts. But he's been absolutely magnificent over the last 6 or 7 weeks. Yeah,
spring training, he had some setbacks with a couple minor injuries that definitely set him back. In a perfect world, he probably should have had another start down there. But he was healthy enough to go. We knew he could handle 5 innings, but he wasn't sharp. He was dealing with figuring out his mechanics a little bit too in the meantime. But you know, he's, like you said, he's gradually has figured it out, got himself in great shape. And I'm just sorry I'm glancing. I'm going to take a line drive here. But you know, he's done a hell of a job, obviously.
Denard Span with a base hit.
Well, with Johnny Cueto and Samardzija, obviously your new toys in that rotation, how have they kind of gelled as a staff and just kind of feeding off each other?
It's a great question because they're all new. They're all, you know, have established themselves in the league, and sometimes or another they've been their ace of their teams. And so, you know, it's the best thing that can happen. Jeff signed right away, wanted to be a Giant real bad, and he was ready to go with anything that was going on. Johnny was quiet and has his own rhythm this spring, but it kind of reminded me of the guys I played with, the Louis Tions, the Sparky Lyles, the older guys who used to come into spring training late, gradually pitch themselves into shape and not worry about it and be ready to go on the first day. And that's kind of what Johnny has done. But you know what? It starts with boats. It starts with the atmosphere in the locker room with the guys. So otherwise, those things don't work. You get a lot of little rubbed feelings the wrong way sometimes.
Hey, Dave, last one for us. Matt Cain through today. What's his situation right now?
You know, he looks good. You're always scared with, you know, the hamstrings, anything to do with the pitcher's legs, because once they get out there and they start to overthrow a little bit here and there on the mound, you know, you could do those things. In his case, he looks pretty good. We'll probably lengthen that bullpen the next time and then see some hitters, and we'll make a decision whether to send him out for a spot start or bring him back into the rotation.
Matt Cain throwing earlier today here in St. Louis, so could be back either maybe early next week or later on next week, depending on if he goes out for a rehab start.
We have a strange schedule. We didn't get any days off early. Now we got 2 coming up in the same week.
Right.
So there's some craziness a little bit with some guys waiting on their turn, but it might help Matt Cain more than anybody.
Dave, we appreciate the time. Thanks very much.
You're welcome, fellas.
Dave Righetti, the outstanding pitching coach of the Giants, joining us live from the dugout. Yeah, off days tomorrow and Thursday for the Giants. They'll fly home tonight. They'll have a 2-game series with the Red Sox Tuesday, Wednesday. Then the Dodgers are in San Francisco next week, and we'll be there for Sunday Night Baseball as Panic flies out to center field. Well, you mentioned Johnny Cueto and Jeff Samardzija, the new toys that in that rotation. And as mentioned, Samardzija didn't have a great start last night, but he's had a very strong season, and Cueto's been absolutely outstanding so far.
I really have. I mean, those additions and their dominance, really, along with Bumgarner at the top, are the reason the Giants have a clear advantage right now in the National League West. Now Peavy, as we see there, trying to find that consistency that it looks like he's starting to find a little bit to kind of stabilize the back of the rotation with Cain coming back. Certainly a lot to like about the Giants in 2016.
Matt Duffy will look at his strike. Duffy struck out and reached on a wild pitch in the first inning, got to third on a base hit by Brandon Belt, but they were stranded when Brandon Crawford struck out to end the inning. So it is scoreless here in the top of the third.
So look at that, how they defense him in the outfield. You see Holiday way over in left center, Grichuk obviously to right center, and they're just kind of pitching him away and saying, all right, we'll let you hit your line drive. And perhaps Duffy's got a little too inside out at times. There's some open spaces out there, but he's hit into a lot of tough luck on some line drives to center, to right center, where the defense has just And I think it's affected him a little bit and played with his psyche a little bit because he's got such a good approach back through the middle and the other way.
1-1 in the dirt, gets away from Molina. That'll be the second wild pitch charged to Martinez. Up to second on the play goes Span.
Looks like a little slider here that they again try to get Duffy to chase as they did the last time. The bottom just kind of falls out of that, and as soon as it skips away, Denard Span, a good job of reading that pitch in the dirt and getting into scoring position with 2 outs.
Got that breaking ball up a little bit. Duffy fouled it off.
And that's the approach right there. It's a great approach. Slider up and out over the plate, and he's set up to really drive that ball through the middle and the other way. But that's how the Cardinals and that's how teams more and more with that shift in the outfield are playing, to where that maybe isn't a gapper, even if he stings it very well with how they defense it.
If he hit the ball to straightaway center hard, that could be a gapper because Grichuk's so far over to right center field. Just off the outside corner when the count is full. You know, and some pitchers will tell you they know how their defense is shifting on hitters. Some pitchers will tell you they don't really want to know. They don't look behind them that much. They're going to execute their game plan regardless of where the defense is. Shifting has become so huge. Look where Grichuk is. Look how far over to right center he is. Obviously, the spray charts, though, bear it out.
Well, and I think just as much as Grichuk, though, Dan, is Matt Holliday. As Carlos Martinez now thrown 47 pitches. Holliday way over in left center to kind of take away that gap and maybe plug up center field a bit.
Here's our vantage point out in center field Sunday from the seats tonight here at Busch Stadium. And the 3-2, a swing and a ground ball down to first, underhanded to the bag. Martinez covering, and the inning is over. To the bottom of the third, still no score. You're watching Sunday Night Baseball on ESPN, presented by Taco Bell. Dan Shulman, Aaron Boone, Buster Olney, Jessica Mendoza is covering the Women's College World Series in Oklahoma City. She'll be back with us next week. No score between the Giants and Cardinals as we go to the bottom of the third. Number 8 hitter Randall Grichuk will lead it off and take a breaking ball for a strike from Jake Peavy. Grichuk all the way down in the 8th spot, hitting just .218 on the season, 1 for his last 18. Didn't start last night's game. Big time power, but not enough contact this year to really make it pay off. But Mike Matheny again before the game used the term ridiculous upside when talking about Grichuk. In and out of the lineup, though, as he has struggled to make consistent contact this year.
Ridiculous upside and the one true center fielder on this team. So they really want to get him rolling because he can impact the game with his legs, with his tremendous power, and with his outstanding defense, which has been outstanding so far this season in center field. So he's an important guy, and they really want to get him rolling.
1-2, and a swing and a ground ball fair down the left field line. Hits the short wall where Blanco's got to come in and get it. And Grichuk on his way into second base with a double.
Well, this is a great start for Randall Grichuk, who has not hit out of that A spot very much. Looks like a sinker down in the zone. You see Grichuk get that foot down early, read that pitch, go down and get it, and get the barrel of the bat to it, and just barely keep it fair. Past a diving Matt Duffy as it rolls just over the bag. And a leadoff double and a nice scoring opportunity now for the Cardinals, looking for that first run of the game.
And pitcher Carlos Martinez is coming up now. Martinez can handle the bat a little bit. He is 4 for 21, has driven in 4 runs this year. He's got 1 sacrifice, and you would obviously assume that he would be bunting here. sends it. And the sacrifice will advance Grichuk to third. That worked out nicely for him.
Well, that would have been a great bunt back in the day at Busch Stadium too, when they had the turf. Deaden that perfect. You see him just kind of catch it off the end of the bat. Puts it down very softly, and you don't have to be that fine in that situation with not a force play out there at third base and good speed out at second base. You just want to get this down to that first base side. And perfect bunt, not even a thought for Brown to even think about third base. Sacrifice successful, and now a chance for Carpenter to plate that first run without a base hit.
And you can see the corner infielders kind of even with the bag. The middle infielders are backed up for Carpenter, who hit a fly ball to left field his first time up. Takes a strike at the top end of the zone, 0-1. Peavy's now started 9 of the 10 hitters he's faced with a first pitch strike. No score here, but the Cardinals are threatening in the bottom of the third. And a base hit into right field gives St. Louis the lead.
Here's where I think maybe a little mistake. I feel like maybe Peavy got a little obsessed with, I'm going to do all I can to prevent him scoring that run. They go back to back. They call for fastballs in on the hands to try and tie Matt Carpenter up. But this second pitch leaks back over the heart of the plate, and he was able to pound it through that shift for the first run of this game. But no score, 1 out game there, and I think you want to do all you can to just kind of get an out instead of really pitching to try and prevent that run from scoring. You're conceding the run in the infield, maybe 2 times in on the hands there, a tough pitch to execute. And one of the first mistakes we've seen from Peavy tonight is that ball leaked out over the heart of the plate.
That pickoff throw might have hit Carpenter as he was diving back into first, but he waved off the dugout. 1-0 Cardinals, bottom of the third, and the batter is Aledmus Diaz, the shortstop, who popped up his first time up. Yeah, it did. Got him under the right arm, it looked like.
Little tricep burger right there. He's still shaking that thing off. His hockey beard going here in June.
So, of course, just like when a guy fouls one off his foot, you throw it right back in on him. When you hit a guy with a pickoff throw, you go over there again.
He's looking out at Peavy right now going, I've got 0 stolen bases in 0 attempts on the year.
I'll make you a deal. I won't run if you don't throw. No balls, 2 strikes on Diaz. Our next game, our next Monday Night Baseball game on ESPN2 comes to you tomorrow night from Philadelphia. The Chicago Cubs are in town to take on the Phillies. Game also available live on Watch ESPN and the ESPN app. And after the game, stay with ESPN2 for Baseball Tonight with all the highlights and analysis from the best in the business. John Lester is scheduled to get the start for the Cubs, who lost today. As Diaz takes low, they lost today, and Jake Arrieta took a loss. The first time he has lost a regular season game since July of last year. Arizona defeated Chicago 3-2. Arrieta only lasted 5 innings, gave up 3 runs on 9 hits. He did strike out 12, but suffered a defeat in the regular season for the first time since last July.
Yeah, 108 pitches he threw in those 5 innings. So obviously a high number. Arizona, pretty good offense.
Chopper to third. Safe at first is Diaz. And out at second is Carpenter as he rounded the bag. They throw behind him and they get him at second.
Well, you certainly understand Matt Carpenter at the time with 1 out, maybe considering getting to third base, getting there important with less than 2 outs. So he does a good job of reading. But here's Brandon Belt, who comes off athletically and fires a strike with a lot on it. Belt was a pitcher back in his days at the University of Texas, along with a great hitter. And he shows off that arm, a quick release, and he throws a strike. As they definitely looks like they catch him on the shoulder there as he's getting back in. And Jake Peavy, always emotional, fired up. A big play in this inning to potentially get Peavy off the hook.
So 2 down in the inning. Diaz at first after the base hit. And you can see Carpenter reaching under his right arm, which is where he was hit by that pickoff throw, but saying he's all right. The batter is Matt Holliday. And a ground ball to short. The short way to the bag at second to end the inning. The Cardinals, though, do get a run. Matt Carpenter drives in Randall Grichuk. It's 1-0 Cardinals at the end of 3. Bruce Bochy, Giants manager, with us when we come back. Cardinals lead 1-0 as we go to the top of the 4th inning here at Busch Stadium. Moments ago, our Buster Olney spoke with Giants manager Bruce Bochy.
Bruce, you know Jake Peavy as well as anyone. How different has he been conducting himself on the mound these recent starts, and how much of a difference has it made?
You know what? He's really he's keeping a calmness about himself, and you know, he got pretty excited in the early go. He was having some struggles and probably trying a little too hard, and then I think trying to bull his way through the lineup. But now he's keeping his delivery and his poise, and got a tough break there. That ball just caught the bag, but he's throwing the ball well right now.
How would you compare Brandon Belt to other first basemen you've seen throwing the ball?
I think he's as good as there is. You know, he wants to pitch one day, so you know he did pitch in college. But he can throw, and that's why sometimes I put him in left field.
Bruce, thanks.
All right, Buster, thank you. And we'll just give you a little tease about the boondoggle tonight. You may just have seen the subject of this week's boondoggle. Brandon Belt leads off the 4th inning. Aaron ventured a little bit out of his comfort zone this week.
Yeah, I did.
Worked hard all week, and we can tell you that a number of the Giants players have seen what you have done already, even though it hasn't aired yet, and thought you did a great job. The person in question has not seen it yet. 3-1 to Belt. In and out of the glove of Carpenter. He recovers and throws him out. So here it is. Normally Aaron's doing a batting stance, but he decided to try something new. Bruce Bochy won the fan ballot online last week. So this is Aaron doing Bruce Bochy making a pitching change. And you've got the walk. You've got the walk pretty much down. Now his knees took a beating. He caught for a long time. What would you say Bochy's reaction was when we were in his office before the game today to you imitating him? And remember, you're on national television.
Right.
Here's another ground ball, and Crawford is retired.
Well, he had heard that some of the guys had it playing and were making a lot of noise about it. So he had heard, I guess, the buzz in the room about it, and then said he heard that imitation was the
sincerest form of flattery.
And he said, maybe not
so much. Yeah.
But I think he was looking forward to at least seeing it. So hopefully he likes it.
He'll love it. He'll love it. And if he doesn't, he's going to see you again next week.
And he'll get on me next week.
Yeah. I don't think he could catch you. But if he caught you, I don't like your chances.
Yeah, not good.
He's a big bear of a man. 2 down in the inning, and here's Gregor Blanco. You might be venturing into new territory again next week.
Yeah.
Although I think you got this one. If the guy that I think is going to win wins, you got this. You got this. Blanco grounded out his first time up. It's 1-0 Cardinals on an RBI single by Matt Carpenter in the bottom of the 3rd. Rubber match of a 3-game series. The Giants, the leaders in the National League West. The Cardinals in 3rd place in the Central, just back of the Pirates for 2nd. 2-2. Backdrop of the arch beyond the center field fence here in downtown St. Louis. 10-year-old ballpark. Martinez a little frustrated, it looks like, with his lack of command. But as we've heard and as we've talked about, trying to slow things down when the situation calls for it instead of speeding things up. But he lost him and he walks Blanco with 2 outs. A chance for us to see who you would like, Aaron, to imitate next week when we're in San Francisco. They're taking on the Dodgers, so it'll be a Dodger and a Giant. It's a current member of the Giants, and Denard Span. You're gonna break out some of your old pitching moves. Oral Hershiser, the Bulldog.
The Bulldog versus the new Giant, Denard Span. So get on there and vote at BBTN.
I think the Bulldog wins this one. I think you better start practicing.
All right.
But you've done this period, like not on TV, but you've done this a little bit, right?
I've messed with Oral a little bit. Yeah.
Down the left field line, and it is gone. Jared Parker with an opposite field 2-run home run to give the Giants the lead. And Martinez staring out there almost in disbelief, it would seem, that ball carried on out of the ballpark. Look at that facial expression. He's like, what gives?
Well, this is what Jared Parker is capable of. We touched on 6 homers and 49 at bats at the big league level a year ago, 13 home runs at AAA. And look, he's going to get a real opportunity right now to get some serious playing time. And that's a 2-seam fastball. Looks like off the plate, down and away. And look,
he didn't even know where it was.
He thought maybe he fouled it off, but just a good look at the power that he possesses as he rides it out here the other way. Not an easy thing to do here at Busch Stadium. Even though it's starting to warm up and the ball's carrying a little bit better, this still usually plays as a big ballpark. But Tina's going, what the heck just happened?
What a great expression on his face. I mean, usually a pitcher knows when he gave up a home run about as often as a hitter knows when he hit it. You can feel it, but Martinez did not think, seeing the ball off the bat, that had any chance of going. Parker didn't know where it was. Martinez couldn't believe it went out. No Pence for about 8 weeks. Pagan's still on the DL as well. There are at-bats available in that Giants outfield. Jared Parker's trying to claim some of them. Trevor Brown getting the start with Buster Posey having the night off for the Giants. And a bouncer to second to end the inning. But the Giants have the lead. Jared Parker with his 2nd home run of the season. He takes it the other way. A wall scraper just over the fence in left field. Once he figured out where it was, confusion everywhere. Not a bad view of the ballpark from a hotel bar across the street. 2-1 Giants lead the Cardinals, bottom of the 4th. Moments ago, Buster Olney with Cardinals manager Mike Matheny.
Mike, what have you seen in Carlos Martinez so far tonight?
Yeah, he's looked great. Unfortunately, 2-out walks seem to always come back and bite you. And he's rearing back and letting it fly. He's got good movement on everything. They just found the barrel there with Parker and the home run, but overall, I like what he's doing.
Stephen Piscotty has ascended to become your cleanup hitter this year. How come?
He just takes good at-bats. He's always grinding through no matter what. He makes quick adjustments, especially for a young player, and comes through with those big hits. He's got a knack for coming up with a big hit when we get guys in scoring position.
Thanks, Mike.
And there is Stephen Piscotty, the cleanup hitter tonight, getting ready to lead off the inning. We have a bit of a delay. Trevor Brown, the catcher for the Giants, is not on the field right now. Buster, have you got something?
As I was walking back into the dugout, Trevor Brown was coming out of the dugout right in front of me, and one of the part of his shin guard hooked on the very top step of the dugout and tore it up, and he had to go back in and replace those braces that wrap around behind his leg.
All right, Buster, thank you. There he is, back on the field, ready to go, and PV a few warm-up tosses. Whoa, man. That'll do it. It all starts here. The 2016 Major League Baseball Draft coverage begins Thursday, June 9th on MLB Network and MLB.com. Jared Parker, who hit the 2-run homer for the Giants in the top half of the inning, that has given them the lead. We go to the bottom of the 4th right now, and Piscotty fouls one back against Peavy. Piscotty hit a fly ball to right field his first time up. Hit a home run in last night's game. Had an RBI single on Friday. What is it about his swing that makes you think he's going to continue to develop into an even better hitter?
Well, he's got really good size, so kind of that. He's got good natural power.
Popped it up, and Belt will make the catch.
But so much versatility to his swing. I mean, he's able to keep the bat in that hitting zone with a long time and really holds his posture well. So it lends itself to a lot of consistency, which he's shown really throughout his early big league career. This fastball runs in on the hands, but you see him almost kind of get to that ball. It beats him on the trademark, and he gets under it. But a real consistent swing through the zone.
We'd like to welcome those of you who have been watching the Warriors and the Cavs over on ABC. Golden State with a 52-44 lead at halftime. We're here at Busch Stadium in St. Louis. The Giants leading the Cardinals 2-1. Dane Shulman, Aaron Boone, Buster Olney. And for me and Aaron, Sunday from the seats. We're up here on a party deck of sorts in front of a bar in straightaway center field, getting a look at a game from a different vantage point.
Partner, this is nice.
It is pretty
nice.
That
sun has gone down, a little breeze. It's a good look up here. We got to do this in our free time.
We should do this.
Yeah, this is.
Here we are.
This is an awesome sight.
Yeah. Our vantage point from way out here in center field. We get to dress casually when we're out in the seats.
Hey, now.
Yeah.
Although next week in San Fran, you might have to sleeve up.
Bundle up a little bit.
Well, you layer a little bit.
Okay.
You know.
All right.
As my dad says, you can always peel.
That's right.
You know, come dressed heavy, and then you can always peel if it's a little warmer than we anticipate.
Got the Canadian and the Arizona guy.
That Bay Area will nail you, though.
Yep. Adams loses the bat and flies down the first baseline. Well, pretty heady times for Bay Area sports fans. Of course, the Warriors are trying to win the NBA championship again. And the Giants, 3 World Series championships since 2010. They're in first place right now. The San Jose Sharks are playing in the Stanley Cup final. They got an overtime win last night, so they now trail the Penguins 2-1 and the host of Super Bowl 50 in the area as well. So a lot going on if you are a Bay Area sports fan. Including, guess which one's Kevin Love? And that's Klay Thompson. A little baseball connection for a couple of guys now playing against one another in the NBA Finals. They were teammates on a Little League All-Star team in Oregon back in 2001, ironically named the Lakers, and they got to within 1 win of making it to the Little League World Series. Two down in the inning, and here's Yadier Molina.
I'm guessing Kevin Love dominated a little bit on the mound.
That was the word on the street. Love was the pitcher, hard-throwing pitcher, ton of strikeouts, and Thompson was the slick-fielding shortstop. You could see that.
Absolutely.
Yeah. In there with a strike, 3-1.
Yeah, as someone who is a small little leaguer, let me tell you something. If I had seen Kevin Love out on the mound, that would have been the end of it. Okay, I never would have had it.
Just drop the bat and go.
Yeah. No, I never would have swung. I guarantee you that. I would have just looked for a walk.
Buster, you could take him down right now, though, in some summer wiffle ball.
Well, there's no question about that. They're major leaguers who have felt the wrath of my wiffle ball pitching.
I know. I'm quaking in my boots at the potential matchup later on this summer at Casa de Olney.
Have to bring the cameras.
Afraid we can arrange that.
3-2 to Molina. And a ground ball to short for Crawford. And the Cardinals go in order in the 4th. Giants 2, Cardinals 1 at the end of 4. Sunday from the seats at Busch Stadium. Welcome back to St. Louis. We go to the top of the 5th inning here on Sunday Night Baseball on ESPN. A 2-1 lead for the Giants over the Cardinals. Jake Peavy pitching well for the Giants and leading off here in the 5th inning. Struck out his first time up against Carlos Martinez. And takes a fastball on the outside corner for strike one. Oh, and 2. Saw 95 on the first pitch, saw 97 on the second one. And 98 on the corner to strike him out.
Well, let's take a look at Carlos Martinez, who now has 6 strikeouts on the night, but he's had all 3 of his pitches going. We've seen the fastball, 96 up above the strike zone, the changeup, which he's used a lot with all the left-handers in the lineup tonight. That swing and miss pitch, and then the slider, perhaps his most wipeout pitch. Buries it down and into the lefty and gets the feeble swing as he pulls the string down and away. But aside from that home run, he has been on point tonight, really doing a good job of commanding his emotions, commanding his delivery, and for the most part controlling the Giants lineup.
Span has grounded out and singled. Martinez with an exaggerated pause in his delivery that time, but that may be more just to mess up the timing of Span in that situation than to calm himself.
Johnny Cueto-esque. Johnny, that probably got the attention of Johnny Cueto over in the other dugout, saying, all right, taking a page out of my book there.
An unusual stance of Span with that front foot, the right foot, the toe pointing back towards his left foot as he chases the changeup down and away, and that's strikeout number 7 for Martinez.
Well, watch him as he continues to slow the pace down a little bit this inning. That long pause, really gathers himself over the rubber and then executes a really good changeup at the bottom of the zone, kind of running down and away. And when you follow that up after some mid-upper 90s fastball, it becomes a wipeout pitch.
Joe Panik has flied out twice tonight. Mike Matheny talked about it, the 2-out walk that Martinez issued to Gregor Blanco immediately preceding the home run by Jared Parker that got about 2 inches over the wall in left field. He has pitched extremely well tonight, but he finds himself trailing 2-1 here in the 5th inning. Changeup on 2-0, and it's in there for a strike. And a much slower one. A lot of his changeups have been 87, 88. That one was just 82.
One thing that does is now Panik maybe a little reluctant to sell out on that fastball after the 2-0 changeup. And right there, well executed on the outside corner, and Panik looked very almost defensive there, Dan, on a 3-1 count. I think because he showed the ability to flip it in there 2-0, maybe had that in the back of his mind. A bit of a defensive swing on a well executed 3-1 pitch away.
Popped up, back of third in foul territory. Carpenter there, and the inning is over. A very strong inning for Martinez. Going to the bottom of the 5th, 2-1 Giants. Sunday Night Baseball on ESPN, presented by Taco Bell, is brought to you by Lowe's. With Aaron Boone and Buster Olney, I'm Dan Shulman, and welcome back to Busch Stadium in St. Louis. Sunday in the seats, we've got the Giants and Cardinals. A 2-1 lead for San Francisco on a Jarrett Parker home run. As Trevor Brown's throw back to the mound just went over the head of Jake Peavy into center field, where Jim Joyce, the umpire, will pick it up. Greg Garcia is going to lead off the inning for the Cardinals. Umpire's work is never done. It'll be Garcia, Grichuk, and then the pitcher Martinez. 7, 8, 9 for the Cardinals here in the 5th inning. Peavy's pitching well. A run on 3 hits, and all of that happened in the 3rd inning. Talking to himself as always out on the mound.
No, that was the case of him talking to Brown.
But if he says fastball to Brown, doesn't Garcia see that he said fastball to him?
Well, he picks a spot where he can tell the pitchers or the hitters looking away. He will do that a lot. And Carlos Martinez on the other side will do it with Yadier Molina as well. They sense that hitter looking away, they'll make a suggestion to their catcher.
Fly ball to shallow center field. Span there, and Garcia retired 1 down. Well, a lot of talk around the Giants over the last couple of days about Madison Bumgarner and what seems like a long shot, but the possibility that could he compete in the home run derby at the All-Star game in San Diego? He's got tremendous power. I mean, light tower power. Has hit, what is it, 12 home runs now in the last 3 years and fewer than 200 at bats. Buster, what's going on Twitter right now?
Well, you see that last home run, guys, that went into the upper deck here in this ballpark, and I had groundskeepers tell me that they have not seen anyone else hit a ball up in that spot other than Nelson Cruz in 2009 in the home run derby here. And, you know, I wrote about this morning, and Madison walked up to me today before he took his batting practice, and he said, "You got to get me in the home run derby." And I said, "Well, do you think that Boach will let you actually do this?" And he goes, "Oh, he will." He sounded like a son talking about how he's going to convince his father. But I asked Boach about this yesterday, and he initially said yes, and then he said, "No, I seriously, I couldn't let him do that."
I mean, initially when Bochy talked about it, correct me if I'm wrong, Buster, he said, "Yeah, I don't mind him doing that because he swings that hard and takes swings every day anyway." So they didn't think being in the home run derby might be any different than batting practice. But then weren't they concerned that he might win a round or two and it would get a little bit excessive?
Well, that's what I said to him. I said, what happens if he gets to a 3rd round and all of a sudden he grabs his side? And that's when you could see Boach beginning to wince a little bit and think about that possibility. But you know, Madison Bumgarner, he is relentless when he gets something in his mind, and he absolutely wants to do this. And other Giants players were nodding along saying he could do some damage in a derby.
Absolutely. That'd be fun.
Well, that's the thing. If the home run derby is going to be fun, and last year was as fun as we have seen with Todd Frazier, but Madison Bumgarner in a home run derby, he would be a headliner.
As a fan, I'm all in on that.
Let's do it.
But if you're the Giants, it would be tough to see your ace potentially go a few rounds into a home run derby.
When I asked him about the question of whether or not Boach would allow him to do that, he said, "Hey, as it stands right now, I'm standing there with I'm in regular running shoes," and he tells me in the game, "Get a bat, you're pinch hitting." He said, if he's got no problem doing that, why not let me do the derby?
Well, he'll stay on him. You know that. Bumgarner won't take no for an answer very easily. PV battling with the Grichuk. Grichuk doubled and scored the Cardinal run back in the 3rd inning.
Hey, you know, Bochy's going to be dealing with this now for the next month. Bumgarner in his ear every single day.
Between that and your boondoggle, Bochy's having a rough day. 1-2 breaking balls, pop back foul out of play.
Well, and I could tell you a story when he convinced him to let him do something. He was a couple of years ago. We did a game in Los Angeles, and he had hit a home run off Zach Greinke. His spot was coming up in the 8th inning, and Boach went down to him to tell him he was going to pinch hit for him. And Boach was hearing Bumgarner. He said, I know. And Bumgarner looked at him and said, "You ain't talking to me like you know." And he let him bat.
Now, Peavy seems maybe irritated. It's a little bit too strong, but he wants to have a conversation with Trevor Brown, who just kept flashing sign after sign.
Well, and remember, Trevor Brown told me before the game today, this is only his 2nd year in which he's a full-time catcher. And Jake Peavy was someone who picked him out in the minor leagues when he threw to him last year and told the major league staff, this guy really can catch.
Slider outside, 2 balls, 2 strikes. Buster Posey getting the night off, an off day for the Giants tomorrow. They'll travel home tonight. And there's Hunter Pence alongside. As mentioned, he'll be out, it looks like, about 8 weeks, requiring surgery on a torn tendon in his hamstring. Swing and a miss, and on the 8th pitch of the at-bat, Peavy strikes out Grichuk. Vote today, vote tomorrow. Vote for your 2016 All-Stars today with the Esurance MLB All-Star Game ballot. Vote at MLB.com/vote and catch all of the excitement of the 87th MLB All-Star Game presented by MasterCard July 12th live on Fox. That guy will be there, but will he be there just as a pitcher? It would seem that's the most likely case, but fun to talk about. The possibility of him trying to force his way into the home run derby, get his manager to let him go if he's asked to participate. Martinez pops one up down the right field line beyond the reach of Parker.
Peavy runs that fastball in on the hands of Carlos Martinez, who first pitch hacking. You see Parker, pretty good jump on that ball. I didn't think he'd have any chance at it. He gets pretty close to making a great play there in foul territory already with that 2-run homer tonight, trying to flash a little leather.
Martinez swings wildly at the breaking ball, and it's 0-2. And chases again, and the inning is over. 5th strikeout of the night for Peavy, pitching extremely well. End of 5 here at Busch Stadium, and the Giants still have the lead, up 2-1 on the Cardinals. Back at Busch Stadium, the Giants and the Cardinals here on Sunday Night Baseball. The hard-throwing Carlos Martinez, the starter, gets some good defense behind him early in the game from Matt Holliday. But then Jarrett Parker, who didn't know where the ball was immediately when he hit it, scraped it over the wall and left. Carlos Martinez couldn't believe it carried that far. That look says it all. That's the big hit of the game right now. A 2-run home run on the top of the 4th by Parker, his 2nd of the season. And the Giants, who have won 18 of their last 23, the leaders in the National League West, have a 2-1 lead on the Cardinals. Parker getting an opportunity to play with Pagan on the DL. Pence getting injured this week. He'll be out a couple of months. Martinez to face the 3-4-5 part of the lineup right now. Duffy, Belt, and Crawford. Pagan, they're hoping back maybe in a week to 10 days. This is the 2nd time he's dealt with his hamstring injury and feels maybe he came back a little bit too quickly the first time. Missed 11 days, re-injured it. Back on the DL right now, says he doesn't want to rush it. Of course, the better that Blanco and Parker do, the more patience they can have for Pagan and long-term Pence. Will they get active in the trade market to try to fill the gap between now and the end of July? But as you said, Parker can be a streaky guy, but he's got a ton of power. Showed that in September of last year. And he's going to get an opportunity to play and prove that he belongs.
Yeah, and if he can get on a little bit of a roll, you know, it makes the need to go pull the trigger on a trade perhaps not as necessary, especially if the prognosis after surgery for Hunter Pence looks to be in that 6-8 week window.
There's a base hit into right field for Duffy, and the leadoff man is aboard in the 6th inning. Do you worry about the Giants potentially being susceptible to left-handed pitching because they've got so many left-handed batters now?
A little bit, yeah. I mean, and that's why, you know, you hear the Giants and you hear Bruce Bochy talking about they would really like a right-handed bat if they're going to go out and address that. But, you know, no team's perfect. And the one thing about this team, even though they may be a little vulnerable at this point to lefties, it's still nice having Buster Posey in the middle of that lineup.
Yep.
Matt Duffy, they can get him rolling.
Posey, who's not playing tonight, not having his typical season so far, but the Giants feel he's just fine. Nothing to worry about, hitting in tough luck, and the numbers will be there at the end of the season.
Yeah, and the numbers back up that tough luck. His hard hit rate, his line drive rate is actually way up among the league leaders. You see, just pedestrian to say the least for Buster at the get-go here. But I would also say about the left-handed hitters for the Giants, they're not your typical guys that are striking out a lot, so they're not going to be as susceptible to some of your normal thoughts of lefty on lefty matchups, because they are a team that puts the ball in play. They do have that kind of quality at bat thing up and down the lineup, starting with Span.
2 balls and a strike on Belt, who has singled and grounded out. Looking down to third. Think there's any chance of hitting runs here on here? Think there's any chance they start the runner?
I think there's a chance. Duffy runs pretty well. He's got 7 stolen bases, so this might be the combination you would do it with.
Not going, and it's pulled foul. Like the stolen base, the hit and run, not a play that you see as much anymore.
No, especially with all the, strikeout power pitchers, it seems like, in the game. And it seems like more and more guys that are prone to the strikeout, or putting the ball in play isn't as much a premium as it once was.
Well, I'll ask you again. Not a hit and run now, but do you think there's any chance they start them 3-2?
Oh, I definitely think there's a chance. The one thing you concern yourself with no outs, you don't want to hit line into something, and you don't want to kill an inning.
Martinez a big strikeout guy too.
Exactly. A changeup though, and a guy running, I think you send him. Nope.
Not going.
You got the changeup. Yachty a little frustrated that he wasn't able to hold on. This changeup stays up in the strike zone, and Belt has he's out in front of it a little bit, does a good job of keeping that bat in the hitting zone, and Yachty just barely not able to come up with that. But they weren't running here. This might be a time you put him in play. I feel like Belt, I would feel good about his chances of putting a fastball in play. It might be an off-speed pitch that gets him just punch.
He is going. No bluff to start and stopped. And it's ball 4 anyway, so Duffy can now jog down to second on the walk issued to Belt. 2 on with nobody out for Brandon Crawford. Crawford 0 for 2 on the night. A Giants fan growing up, and a guy who, as we mentioned, Aaron, has a terrific defensive player, won a Gold Glove last year, but has just come so far with the bat over the last couple of years.
He's such a good player, an impact player now. Probably the best defensive shortstop in the game. All the Giants coaching staff and players marvel at just how good he is, but then now having an impact on the offensive side, the power he's developed, the power to all fields, and a run producer.
And that one gets past Molina to the backstop, and the runners will advance, assuming it scored a wild pitch. It would be the 3rd wild pitch charged to Martinez tonight.
Well, this time it looks like a fastball, and this is usually one of the toughest pitches for a catcher to block in the dirt. So a fastball, obviously, because it's quick, you don't react to it and you don't expect it in the dirt, so you're not typically going to turn over and block it conventionally. You have to go with the backhand, but certainly a play we've seen Yachty pick a lot, and now a real good opportunity here for the Giants.
'89 pitches for Martinez, still trying to get his first out here in the 6th inning, and the way he's struggling this inning has led to Mike Matheny to get some activity going in the bullpen right now.
Let's take a look at this chart. This is extra base hits for Brandon Crawford against right-handed pitching this year, and look at the up and away. And the reason I highlight that is because that's where Martinez, when he gets in some trouble and loses his mechanics, at times his misses will be up and away. When he starts losing his delivery a little bit, maybe starts overthrowing when he gets in trouble, careful with up and away to Brandon Crawford, because real good power the other way on that pitch.
This is low again. 3-0 the count on Crawford, with runners at 2nd and 3rd and nobody out. Jonathan Broxton now warming up in the pen for St. Louis. Mike Matheny, a lot of concern. A base hit, a walk, now a wild pitch, now a 3-0 count. As Gregor Blanco waits on deck.
And if you're the Cardinals, if you're Martinez and Yachty, you've certainly got to be aware that this could be a spot where if Crawford likes a pitch, and that's what Yadi's telling Martinez right now. 3-0, yeah, but he may be swinging.
3-0 changeup in for a strike.
Well, that's the respect that they have for his power. And with first base open, you know, you don't want to give in to Brandon Crawford here and just completely pitch to him like you're way behind in the count. A walk is not the worst thing in the world. You want to execute pitches like you're ahead.
Ground ball in the hole at short. Long throw across the infield in time. Good play by Diaz to get the out. But a run will score on the play and give the Giants a 3-1 lead.
Well, a really nice play by Aledmys Diaz here. And a good job by Martinez. Executes this running, looks like two-seam fastball down and away, gets the weak contact, and with no outs, you know, you're probably going to give up a run in this situation, but because that ball's on that side of the infield, you keep the runner at second base with less than 2 outs, and now you have a real chance of really limiting that damage and keeping this game in check here in the top of the 6th inning. Nice execution after falling behind for Martinez.
So Belt still at second with 1 out, and here's Blanco, who has grounded out and walked and scored. Diaz has committed 12 errors this year, but he has gotten steadier, Aaron, lately in the last few weeks. The bat's enough to keep him in the lineup, but the glove's coming around.
Yeah, and look, the bat's the one thing, but you've got to be able to catch the ball at a high level to play every day at shortstop, especially on a winning club. And I think it shows the confidence the Cardinals organization and Mike Matheny has in what they've seen and what they think he can become defensively, that they feel good enough about leaving him out there regularly. And he's continued to improve, and they feel like it's only going to get better as the second half unfolds.
Pitching from behind again. And maybe running out of opportunities to stay in this game. The guy on deck homered off him his last time up. Mike Matheny's got Broxton up in the bullpen, probably ready if needed at this point. Giants have been on a hot streak. They've been a terrific road team this year. Trying to maintain that 4.5 game lead over the Dodgers. The Dodgers beating Atlanta earlier today to complete a sweep. Three and one.
Good look at Matheny and Lilliquist, just talking about what they're seeing and how much more do they feel Martinez has in the tank with Broxton getting ready.
Lined it back to the mound, but then an errant throw into center field. Could have and should have been an inning-ending double play, but Martinez fired so quickly and just airmailed it into center field for an error.
Well, this is a rocket, and another 3-1 changeup with a base open. Blanco stays back nicely on this, perhaps even looking for it, just seeing how the innings unfolded. A good job of reaction, and then just way too nonchalant with that throw, trying to kind of lead the player, because obviously they weren't at the bag yet. You want to set your feet there. Not the end of the world, because now 2 outs and a man on second, but maybe if he squares his feet and gets himself into kind of an infielder's position, maybe he completes that double play.
Molina out to try to refocus him, settle him down now with 2 outs of the inning. Let's go now to our greater coverage of baseball play of the game, brought to you by T-Mobile.
Well, here's a look at that home run earlier. It was a 2-seamer off the plate down and away. Jared Parker wasn't sure at first if that was a fair ball or if he had hit a foul ball. Rides it out of here to straightaway left field, and Carlos Martinez surprised as well, but that plated the first 2 runs of this game for the Giants. They've added to that lead, and now with a base open, 2 outs, and a right-handed hitter and Trevor Brown on deck, this might be a situation where you pitch around the lefty. They're not going to walk him outright, but certainly you're going to pitch carefully with the righty on deck.
Aaron, by the way, that error charged to Martinez is the 48th error committed by the Cardinals this year. That's the most of any team in the major leagues.
Yep.
Not the kind of thing you associate with the St. Louis Cardinals. #100th pitch of the night. Bounce to first. Martinez over to cover, and now the inning is over. Another run for the Giants, though. They're up 3-1 going to the bottom of the 6th. Welcome back to Sunday Night Baseball on ESPN, presented by Taco Bell. Sunday from the seats from Busch Stadium in St. Louis. Dan Shulman, Aaron Boone, Buster Olney. Glad you're with us. Our vantage point. There we are. Way out in center field. We'll be in the seats again in San Francisco next week, and at Wrigley Field 2 weeks from tonight. Actually, there are 2 games coming your way on ESPN next Sunday evening and night. A 5 o'clock Eastern time start from Pittsburgh, where Dave Fleming, Dallas Braden, and Eduardo Perez will be in the seats as well. Then we'll be out in the seats in San Francisco, and we will be at Wrigley as well in a couple of weeks. Lots of baseball coming your way this week on the ESPN family of networks. Got the Cubs and Phillies tomorrow night on ESPN2. Then the Mets and Pirates Tuesday night on ESPN2. And then there's that doubleheader we talked about. Cards and Pirates, Dodgers and Giants. Sunday Night Baseball presented by Taco Bell. Carpenter hooks it down the right field line. A fair ball. And into second base with a leadoff double.
Well, this is some outstanding hitting by Carpenter. Looks like a breaking ball. No, a changeup. They wanted to go down and away. It rolls down and in. And Carpenter way out in front of this. But watch how he just kind of slows his bat down, but keeps it in the hitting zone and beyond for a long time. That allows him to barrel it. That allows him to keep it fair and just dump it into that corner. Brandon Bell looking back like, how did you do that? Jared Parker, good job of playing that carom and keeping him at second. But Carpenter with another extra base hit.
You saw that was the 17th double of the season for Matt Carpenter. Last year he led the National League with 44 doubles. In 2013 he led the majors with 55 doubles. This is something he's been doing for a few years right now. He is maybe not your typical leadoff hitter, although what that means anymore is anybody's guess, but he is a great leadoff hitter. You know, Carpenter leading off in St. Louis. George Springer's now leading off in Houston. A variety of circumstances leading to the Toronto situation, but Jose Bautista now leading off in Toronto. Leadoff hitters are a little bit different than they used to be. Big numbers for Carpenter over the last 3.5 seasons.
Look, there's a lot to be said when your best hitter is hitting leadoff like Matt Carpenter, especially in the National League. Obviously, you want a guy that gets on base a lot. Check. Now, the power that he's added more and more the last few years. And then in the National League, where you have the pitcher hitting ninth, a lot of bunting situations, so you're creating opportunities with a runner in scoring position. To have a guy like Matt Carpenter, obviously very good in those situations, hitting in that leadoff spot with more opportunities.
Line down the left field line. Diaz will drive in Carpenter. Back-to-back doubles for the Cardinals have them back within a run.
Well, Carpenter we saw with the changeup. You see Peavy getting fired up now. This looks like a breaking ball. Another off-speed pitch. They want to go down and away, and it just rolls and stays in the heart of the plate. And fortunately for Peavy, Diaz is a little bit out in front of that. Otherwise, that ball is leaving the ballpark. As it is, Diaz with that really good bat speed able to barrel that one up, and now back-to-back doubles, and St. Louis right back in it. And Peavy, not happy, has earned himself a trip to the mound by his pitching coach to try and settle him down emotionally.
Carlos Martinez's mood has improved. Dave Righetti jogging back to the dugout after a conversation with Peavy. Activity now in the Giants pen. The right-hander is Hunter Strickland, and the left-hander is Javier Lopez. Peavy to face Matt Holliday. Holliday's 0 for 2.
They've really tried to run that sinking fastball in on the hands of Holliday tonight. They've gotten a couple calls in there. That's where you want to pitch him, but you got to be careful, because every now and then Holliday will pick his spot to cheat inside, and if you miss in there and you miss down, that's when he can do a lot of damage. And he might have just gotten away with one there. They tried to sink that ball in on his hands again. You saw Trevor Brown creep inside, and this ball misses out over the heart of the plate and down, and Matt Holliday's deadly down in the zone, and that's a pitch he usually does a lot of damage with. Peavy fortunate it's only strike 2.
Jake Peavy's been having trouble seeing some of the signs from Trevor Brown tonight. Brown's added the white out on his fingers to the yellow on his fingernails after the last inning. They had a conversation in between innings, which we're going to show you as soon as time allows, where Peavy was saying to Brown, I can't see the signs. So they're trying to do anything they can to allow Peavy to see the signs better from Brown. The last thing you want is a cross-up or a miscommunication. The 2-1. A little bit inside to Holliday, ball 3.
And that's scary for Peavy right there. That's a pitch he wants Holliday to offer at, but back-to-back pitches he's laid off that running, starting on the inside part, running in off the plate. Holliday just trying to get him on the plate where he can do his damage.
On the outside corner, a full count. Holliday thought he'd drawn the walk.
Perhaps just off the plate away, but certainly a very close pitch. And after a lot of two-seam fastballs running in, they go to the breaking ball. Probably barely off the plate, but really close nonetheless.
And that's outside for ball 4. Well, Jake Peavy last inning calling Trevor Brown out to the mound. A couple of times they were unable to figure it out. You can see Peavy pointing at the light saying, I can't see you. Peavy's known for having less than great eyesight, and that's why they added more to Brown's fingers, more of the whiteout on his fingers. And now here comes Bruce Bochy. And here comes Hunter Strickland. And that's going to be all for Jake Peavy. After 5 great innings, he does not get an out here in the 6th. Leaves with a lead, but that lead is in jeopardy with 2 men on and nobody out. Giants 3, Cardinals 2 in the bottom of the 6th. Jake Peavy out of the game, a run in, 2 men on, nobody out in the 6th inning. The Giants still clinging to a 3-2 lead. Big right-hander Hunter Strickland is into the game now for the Giants.
Big fastball, mid upper 90s at times, slider and changeup. The slider's become more and more a better pitch for him as he continues to gain experience in that Giants bullpen.
Stephen Piscotty hit by the first pitch Strickland throws. And that'll load him up.
Obviously, the last thing that Strickland wants to do is he comes in a big spot here. You see that fastball just run in and catch the elbow there, hopefully catching more forearm than elbow in that spot. But ooh,
looked like more elbow than forearm there.
And then that's one of those, it used to happen to me a lot as a right-handed hitter. When you face a guy throwing real hard that runs the ball in, because they started on the plate, so as a hitter you start to react to it and you start to open up and swing at it. If you don't react to that properly, you expose your hands, your wrists, your elbow in that spot, instead of rolling and turning your back to that, or maybe your back or your tricep or a meatier part of your body takes that.
Diaz at third, Holiday at second, now Piscotty at first. A one-run game, and Bruce Bochy's back out. Left-hand hitting Matt Adams is the scheduled hitter. He's got the lefty Javier Lopez, the specialist, up in the pen. So Strickland will throw one pitch, hit a batter, and that's that. Lopez on to face Adams with the bases loaded. Well, there were a couple of changes for the Giants on the last pitching change. On a double switch, Mac Williamson came into the game. He's in left field. Gregor Blanco went from left to right. Jared Parker out of the game. That's when Strickland came in. He hit Piscotty with the first pitch, and as it turns out, Aaron, the last pitch that he threw. And now here's Javier Lopez to face Matt Adams.
Well, Javier Lopez, the side armor who's been so effective against lefties. You see 10 innings in 27 games this season, but so far this year has struggled a little bit. Lefties have hit him at a .321 clip, on to get a big out here.
Breaking ball for a strike to Matt Adams, who has walked and struck out. You can see Adams doing a much better job this year against lefties. He's been hot lately overall. The bases are loaded with nobody out, and the Cardinals back within a run.
Bruce Bochy hoping that Lopez can retire Adams and keep this same force play in order, and he's getting Guerin ready, who's really assumed a lot of the 8th inning roles, but with that outstanding two-seamer, a ground ball pitcher with Yadier Molina, the right-hander, on deck, hoping it sets up.
And the game is tied. So Matt Adams making some solid contact, and the Cardinals have come back to tie it here in the bottom of the 6th.
Dana, was another breaking ball. As you talked about, Matt Adams been much more effective against left-handed pitching. Kind of hangs in there. Actually, it's a two-seam fastball that they run in on his hands, and that ball just eats up Brandon Belt. It was a tough chance, kind of an in-between hop. Brandon Belt, a slick fielder over there. Oftentimes he'll make that play, but a tough chance nonetheless. I would imagine would go as a hit.
It is a hit and an RBI to tie the game. That's it for Lopez. Corey Guerin is the next Giants pitcher entering the game in what is now a tie game. Back here in St. Louis, Sunday Night Baseball on ESPN. 2 runs in for the Cardinals to tie it. The bases loaded, nobody out. The 4th pitcher of the inning for the Giants is right-hander Corey Guerin.
Sinker, slider, occasional change. You can bet he's getting the sinker, and Yadi looks to be aggressive in these situations. Look for him to be aggressive first pitch.
A little over aggressive maybe as he chases the slider away for strike 1. Matt Holiday, who walked, is now around to third. Stephen Piscotty hit by a pitch on that right elbow. He's at second, and Matt Adams aboard after an infield hit that drove in the tying run. 3 grand slams in the career of Molina. The Cardinals have been the best team in baseball this year in terms of batting average with runners in scoring position. over 300 as a team on the season, and they have improved that mark tonight. They are 3 for 3 in those situations tonight. And man, it was going so well for Jake Peavy and the Giants until the bottom half of this inning. Carpenter and Diaz getting the inning started with back-to-back doubles. Crawford drops it. Everybody's safe, and the Cardinals have the lead.
Well, Dan, 3 consecutive sliders. A little surprised they stayed in the strike zone here. And Crawford gets to it. And I think he just takes it for granted that he has it. Doesn't quite secure it. Because once he got to that, it was probably going to turn into a 6-4-3 double play because Molina doesn't run very well. But perhaps a ball that got too much of the plate. But a rare mistake by Crawford, who's as good as it gets out there at shortstop.
Crawford charged with an error. Molina does get an RBI on the play. Fielder's choice, RBI, E6, 4-3 St. Louis. And a strike on the outside corner to Greg Garcia, who is 0 for 2. Still nobody out in the inning. Scotty now around to third, Adams to second, and a Molina aboard at first. The book is now closed on Jake Peavy, who winds up getting charged with 4 runs through 5+ innings.
When you think of this Giant team, one of the things you think about is their outstanding defense. Tied for second in the National League in defensive runs saved. And the infield, a huge reason why. Brandon Belt, a very difficult chance in what was ruled a hit. And there, a tough chance, but one that Crawford usually handles in his sleep. 2 mistakes by the Giants have given the Cardinals the lead.
Terrific stop there by Panic. He'll force Molina at second, but another run crosses the plate.
This is a great play by Joe Panic, and the wherewithal and understanding who's running from first base. A slow developing play like this, you know there's no chance you're going to have a force out at home plate. And normally a normal second baseman gets up there and just goes to first base because it's so slow developing. That's a tough in-between hop that he's got to handle, but then the wherewithal to understand that, hey, Yadier Molina's running from first base, not a lot of speed. Let me at least get this force out at second base and keep the double play in order with a chance to limit this damage.
Randall Grichuk, the batter. So 1 out in the inning, 4 runs in already for the Cardinals to lead 5-3. Runners on the corners. Grichuk has doubled and scored and struck out. So Peavy 5 innings plus 3 batters, 4 runs allowed. Carlos Martinez, as we mentioned, his mood has improved considerably in the last 20 minutes or so. Walked off the mound trailing 3-1. Right now leading 5-3. Boy, he gets a lot of swings and misses from the righties on that slider.
Yeah, and part of that is because they know he's got such a good 2-seam sinking fastball that you feel like you got to cover that. So if you don't have the right approach, you feel like you got to be a little quick at that. That makes that slider a swing and miss pitch for him.
Hot shot to short, to second, one on to first. Double play to end the inning. So the Giants finally end the inning, but up for the Cardinals score 4 times and lead 5-3 at the end of 6. Every Sunday on Baseball Tonight, ESPN and Major League Baseball feature a local Little League program as part of our Sunday night coverage. Tonight, we welcome Hillsboro Little League, located in Hillsboro, Missouri, about 45 miles away from Busch Stadium. It was founded in 1957, and the Hillsboro Little League has had a great run over the years. Boys baseball teams have won at least 13 district championships and 8 state championships, and the girls softball teams have had at least 7 district championships and 4 state championships. So congratulations to them.
I got to hang with them a little bit today.
You what?
I got to hang with them a little bit. Yeah. We did a little demo with Stephen Piscotty out in the outfield.
Did they have good questions for him?
They were fired up.
Yeah. Here's Jonathan Broxton on to pitch in the 7th inning for the Cardinals, who suddenly have a 5-3 lead now on the Giants. Trevor Brown shows bunt, takes inside, ball 1.
Broxton fastball slider change. That fastball still in the mid-90s typically, not as hard as it once was, but walks have been a little bit of an issue for him so far this year. 13 in 21 innings. That's the last thing he wants to do now that the Cardinals have the lead here in the 7th.
And he hits him. Just like Strickland did when he came into the game, Broxton hits Brown and puts a man on.
Well, any thought that this is somehow retaliation for Stephen Piscotty, I think is probably way off. I mean, this is not a situation, the leadoff hitter, that you want to, now that you've grabbed the lead. Fortunately, Brown's got that little pad there to kind of take the sting off a little bit, but that squared him up pretty good. Again, Broxton has had a little bit of an issue with his command here to start this season.
Play Ball is MLB's initiative to inspire all forms of baseball and softball participation and making play opportunities available and fun for everyone. To learn more, go to playball.org. So Brown is okay. He stays in the game. And Mac Williamson will be the batter. Came on in a double switch. Outfielder called up when Hunter Pence was injured, suffered the hamstring injury, went on the DL. A guy with a lot of power. 6'4", 240 out of Jacksonville, Florida. 3rd round pick back in 2012. Pops it up on the infield. Carpenter in from 3rd.
Hey, Boone, some numbers to back you up on Broxton. So far this year, 13 walks in 21 1/3 innings, and that was the 2nd batter he's hit in the last 5 seasons.
And it looks like that might be all for him. Broxton looking over to the dugout. Mike Matheny's on his way to home plate umpire James Hoy. That means a double switch is coming. Kevin Segrist, the left-hander, is going to be coming into the game for the Cardinals as the chess match between Bochy and Matheny continues here into the late innings of this game. He's a good one. Segrist on his way in from the bullpen. Broxton will only face a couple of batters. Colton Wong is going to come on the double switch as well. We'll set it all up for you when we come back. Kevin Segrist into the game now for the Cardinals, who are leading 5-3 over the Giants in the 7th inning. The left-hander is making his 25th appearance of the season.
Well, as you can see, Dan, pretty dominant numbers there. 27 strikeouts in 22 innings. That whip down at .82 has really developed into one of the really good setup men in Major League Baseball. Typically has been better against right-handed hitters. This year, though, holding lefties to a 190 batting average. The reason he's had kind of those reverse splits over his career is because his best secondary pitch is a changeup. But that fastball will routinely be in the mid-90s.
Colton Wong takes over for Greg Garcia at second base, who put Wong in the 9th spot on the order. Segrist's spot is 7th. Denard Span is the batter for the Giants. Span is 1 for 3 tonight and 3 for 5 in his career against Segrist. The Giants just allowed the Cardinals to take the lead with 4 in the bottom half of the 6th, trying to rally here in the top of the 7th. First pitch swinging, and he loops one into center field, a base hit. So Span now 4 for 6 in his career against Segrist, and 2 men on for the Giants.
Well, Denard Span, who is very good at working the count, usually sees a lot of pitches, obviously has a good scouting report on Segrist, knows what he was looking for, and does a good job of taking that fastball in the inner half, staying inside it and keeping it back through the middle, and now representing the tying run on at first base.
Segrist figures to face a lot of lefties. Panic is the batter now. Belt's 2 batters away. Crawford behind him. Panic tonight is 0 for 3. Breaking ball misses outside, ball 1. So both starters out of the game. Carlos Martinez, 6 innings, 3 runs allowed for the Cardinals. Jake Peavy, 5+ innings, 4 runs allowed for the Giants. 2 of those runs scored after he left the ball game. Upstairs, ball 2. Segrist figures to be around for a while. Nobody up in the Cardinal pen, and as mentioned, with all the lefties coming up for the Giants, Mike Matheny will leave him out there for a while.
Well, and it's really his, along with O, his 2 best setup men here. Segrist, very good at getting righties. This is most likely his inning, hoping they can hand it off to O in the 8th.
And a fly ball down the right field line. Piscotty into foul territory. Over to the seats. Won't have a play. It was a fairly clean game through 5 at 2-1. And then there was an error and a wild pitch and a run scored in the top of the 6th. The Giants took a 3-1 lead in the bottom half of the inning. A walk, a hit batter, an error, 4 runs in all for the Cardinals to take a 5-3 lead. And now here are the Giants threatening in the top of the 7th. Borderline strike, 2-2. No complaint from Panic. Matt Duffy waiting on deck. And a swing and a miss to get him for the 2nd out.
Well, we saw one breaking ball in that at bat, but once he fell behind in the count, Segrist just went to what is his best pitch, and that's a fastball. He located one up and away to get called strike 2, and then just blows him away with mid-90s in the heart of the plate. That Panic's just a little bit late on. A huge 2nd out for Segrist and the Cardinals. You see that just a little bit under, a little bit late for that big out.
So with 2 down, it's Matt Duffy, 1 for 3 tonight. Singleton scored his last time up. Cuts at the fastball, and he fouls it back, 0-1. The Cardinals entering play tonight 29-27 on the season, looking up like everybody else is at the Cubs, although the Cubs lost earlier today to Arizona. Cardinals have been a playoff team 5 years in a row. A couple of times getting knocked out by the Giants during that stretch. Inside at the knees, a ball and a strike. Day off for the Cardinals tomorrow as well. They're off on a road trip to Cincinnati and Pittsburgh over the next week. Maybe as impressive a thing as anything about the Cardinals is they've gone 23 consecutive months, and that excludes March or October where you might have only played a game or 2. 23 consecutive full months without having a losing record. That goes back to 2012. Amazing consistency.
Everyone kind of wondering. Yachty, Kevin Segrist taking a walk around the mound. Matt Carpenter even out at third base, kind of shaking his head on that 1-1 changeup that definitely caught the bottom of the strike zone. James Hoy called it, I think, low. You can see K-zone clearly a strike and in the heart.
Fouled off 2-2. Duffy trying to walk the paint off.
Well, great execution there, because you know Seager's best secondary pitch and his field pitch is the changeup. So off of that, you work the fastball at 94 in on the hands, and that's twice now he's gone in there effectively. So that opens up the outer half. That makes the changeup a much better pitch. And Duffy, knowing that that changeup is his best secondary pitch, has to account for it. So anything in becomes kind of a problem.
And the runners are both going to advance on this play. A curveball from Seagrist that eludes Molina. There were 3 wild pitches thrown by Carlos Martinez tonight. Have to wait and see what the ruling is on this one. I mean, that ball really broke, but
yeah, that's a ball that's got to be caught. That could be a pass ball. That's a breaking ball that actually just hits his glove before it hits the dirt. Don't usually see Seagrist with a breaking ball there. You can eliminate that one. It's fastball changeup time.
And there's ball 4 to load the bases. They did rule that a wild pitch. A wild pitch was the call on Seagrist. Either way, the bases are loaded with 2 outs. We'd like to welcome those of you who are watching the Warriors beat Cleveland 110-77 in Game 2 of the NBA Finals. Take a 2-games-to-none lead. We're here at Busch Stadium in St. Louis. The Cardinals and the Giants in the rubber match of a 3-game series. And the Cardinals with a 5-3 lead. They got 4 in the bottom of the 6th. But Aaron, now here come the Giants. The bases are loaded with 2 down in the top of the 7th for Brandon Belt. Belt 1 for 2 with a walk tonight.
Man, I'm really surprised to see them double up on breaking balls, which you almost never see Seagrist do against right-handers. I know first base became open once the wild pitch occurred and you got a lefty on deck, but again, Seagrist, a guy who throughout his career has gotten righties out at times even more effectively than lefties.
Another lefty waiting on deck should the inning continue. That's Brandon Crawford. Belt's hitting over 400 on this road trip for San Francisco that ends tonight. You know, the 14 hits he's had on the road trip, 8 of them have been for extra bases. Takes a fastball well located on the outside edge, and it's 1-2. Well, over on ABC tonight, the Warriors beating the Cavs. If you're just joining us here on ESPN, it's 5-3 Cardinals over the Giants. Jake Peavy and Carlos Martinez were the starters. Jared Parker with a home run for the Giants. The big inning, though, the bottom of the 6th, when the Cardinals scored 4 times to take the lead. Can they keep it here this inning? To left field and caught by Holiday to end the inning. The Giants will leave the bases loaded. 7th inning stretch at Busch. 5-3 Cardinals. Well, there's always been a very special relationship between the St. Louis Cardinals and their fans, both here in St. Louis and all the fans who come from so many of the surrounding states to root on the Cardinals. It's not the biggest market in Major League Baseball, far from it, but the fans here as passionate as any. They fill up the ballpark just about every single night. 3 million plus in 16 of the last 17 seasons. You know, we've told this story before, but there was a time before baseball moved to the West Coast, before the Giants and the Dodgers moved from New York to California, where the Cardinals were both the team the furthest west in baseball and the team the furthest south in baseball. So there were people from hundreds of miles away from all kinds of different states. This was their team. KMOX, the radio station, incredible reach back then, and the Cardinals had fans all over the place. Colton Wong getting his first at bat of the night, came on in a double switch, and he pops it up. And you were talking about a little bit this morning at our meeting as a member of the Cincinnati Reds. You'd come into St. Louis and you would see Cardinal fans just everywhere in town, and you could tell they were just from all over the place.
Yeah, and now it makes perfect sense hearing that explanation of them being the furthest west and south. So it's fans being passed on generationally and after generation. And yeah, I mean, coming here in the summers with the Reds and staying in the hotels, and you just every year all these Cardinal fans just walking past you and with all their jerseys, and it is, you know, we talk about it a lot, how special of a baseball place this is. It's so true.
Yeah.
I mean, they love Cardinal baseball.
I don't think there's anywhere in baseball where a higher percentage of people in the stands wear a jersey or a t-shirt or a hoodie or something to do with their team. It's everybody.
Yeah, and you'll see guys that were role players 15, 20 years ago. You'll see multiple jerseys of those players being worn by fans in the stands. The connection between fans and their players here is second to none. Lance Berkman, of course, the big Puma, who had such a great career, mostly with Houston, but got some huge hits in the postseason here. Mark McGwire, Vince Coleman on hand tonight. Mike Matheny up there. There's probably an Eli Marrero somewhere floating around the stadium. Joe Kelly for you. Matt Carpenter in the house.
Could be Chris Carpenter.
Yes, it could.
Matt Carpenter drops one into center field, a base hit. David Freese, he had a couple of big hits back in 2011 for this franchise.
Hey Dan, you mentioned KMOX. I grew up in central Vermont. We didn't have a television. I listened to their games on the radio all the time, and I could get, if the conditions are right, games bouncing up from St. Louis on KMOX.
I grew up in Toronto. We did have a television, but I would also listen to games on the radio all the time, and I could get KMOX, and grew up a lot listening to that guy right there, to Jack Buck. When you'd be out, especially at night, if you're driving at night back in the day, you could get KMOX anywhere. There would be a lot of closer cities and you couldn't get baseball games on the radio, but St. Louis you could always get.
What about WLW in Cincinnati?
Yeah, I could get WLW.
Yeah.
Yep.
Regular listener.
Buster come in a long day's work on the farm. Listen to a little KMOX, WLW, whatever he could get his hands on.
Hey, we're all baseball junkies, right?
Yes,
That's why we're here.
Amen.
I carried a transistor out in the hayfields.
Doesn't surprise me.
Diaz is 2 for 3. And an infield hit in the third and an RBI double in the sixth when the Cardinals scored 4 times to take the lead they now enjoy. And again, if you weren't with us earlier, Johnny Peralta is expected to be activated off the DL on Tuesday and to rejoin the team in Cincinnati, but he's been playing a lot of third base down on a rehab and will play a fair bit of third base, it sounds like, for the Cardinals once he comes back. So if you're wondering, well, what about Matt Carpenter? Remember, Carpenter's original position is second base, and that might leave Colton Wong out in the cold a little bit. Wong has not had a banner season. Carpenter could also play some first base. You know, Brandon Moss can play the outfield. Adams can sit against a lefty. They've also got Jed Jerko. They've also got Greg Garcia. They got a lot of guys. And some decisions will have to be made on a daily basis about who's in the lineup and who's not. Good problem to have. I guess they get a lot of talented guys. And Brown can't handle that one. Carpenter up to second.
Well, As we take a look at this, I'm sure will be a pass ball. Another little sinker, two-seam fastball that Brown just doesn't handle, and another runner up into scoring position.
And that one's also scored a wild pitch.
Did hit the dirt, I guess, but certainly a play you've got to make. You know, in having all that depth, certainly a great thing, and been a very good thing for the St. Louis Cardinals here the first 2 months of the season, with all the production they've gotten from their bench, being able to keep guys fresh and get guys regular and consistent at bats.
Swinging a foul tip, held on to by Brown, and Diaz strikes out for the second out.
The problem you can run into is you don't get the best of some regular players, a la Colton Wong. If he starts losing his at-bats, you figure over the course of a long season, if he's getting regular at-bats, the good Colton Wong's going to show up at some point. But now, probably likely to even lose more at-bats with Johnny Peralta. You might lose his production for much of the season because of all that depth and because he's been struggling.
Wong just signed to a 5-year contract in the offseason, too. Here's Matt Holliday. 0 for 2, walked and scored his last time up. And a slider with the knees for a called strike. Five runs, 7 hits, and an error for the Cardinals. 3 runs, 5 hits, and an error for the Giants. Rubber match of a 3-game series between the leaders in the National League West, the Giants, and the third-place team in the National League Central, the Cardinals. Good news for the Cardinals is both of the teams in front of them in their division lost today. We mentioned the Cubs were beaten by Arizona 3-2. Jake Arrieta suffering his first regular season defeat since last July. The Pirates lost to the Angels 5-4 today. Albert Pujols hit a 2-run homer in the 8th for the Angels. The Angels take 2 out of 3. So St. Louis can move within a half game of Pittsburgh with a win. Well, even with a loss today, the Cubs are 39-16 on the season. Bouncing ball to second. And that'll end the inning. End of 7, still 5-3 Cardinals. Brandon Crawford's going to lead things off in the 8th for the Giants. Sunday Night Baseball on ESPN is presented by the new $1.49 steak flatbread sandwich at Taco Bell. It's all the steak, none of the sacrifice. And in part by the newly redesigned Volkswagen Passat, where family happens. Sunday from the seats from Busch Stadium in St. Louis. Dan Shulman and Aaron Boone. Buster Olney with us as well. Aaron on the left. Aaron in red, me in blue. We'll mix it up next week. Jessica will be back with us as well. Jeremy Hazelbaker comes into the game now for Matt Holliday in left field. And with the Cardinals leading 5-3 as we go to the 8th, the new pitcher is right-hander Sung Hwan Oh, who has been outstanding for the Cardinals so far this year.
Yeah, they got a nice 1-2 punch leading into Rosenthal with Segrist and Oh. You look at that whip, .81 with 40 strikeouts. And fastball in the low 90s. Gets on the hitters. You get a lot of poor swings at a breaking ball and a split-fingered fastball.
Oh is 33 years of age, from South Korea, spent 9 years pitching in Korea, then 2 in Japan, and accumulated 357 saves in those 11 years. Working as the primary setup man right now to Trevor Rosenthal.
And Mike Matheny raves about him, about his smarts, his aptitude on the mound, his ability to make adjustments, to read hitters, and been a guy that wants the ball. Matheny at times has felt like, after pitching a few days in a row, and there you see that low 90s fastball, Dan, that just kind of explodes and gets on the hitter, in on the hands for a weak foul ball to the right side, and then blows Crawford away with a fastball trying to work it to that outside corner. You just see it explode through the zone. 94 miles an hour on that, and just too much. But a guy who has routinely gone to Matheny and said, no, I'm okay. I expect to pitch every day. Give me the ball. And he has delivered.
Crawford late on it as he is set down for the first down. Now Gregor Blanco trying to bunt his way aboard. Time now to take a look at our value player, brought to you by True Value, and focusing in on Matt Carpenter. What a night he has had. And his double to lead off the 6th inning, maybe the biggest hit of the ball game right now. Hooked it down the right field line, and that opened the floodgates, if you will. A 4-run inning for the Cardinals in the bottom of the 6th. Blanco tonight 0 for 2, and he's walked and scored. Scored on the Jared Parker home run back in the 4th. One, 2. Got him. Slider down and in, 2 down. MLB.TV Premium, the #1 live streaming sports service, delivers everything you have come to expect and more. Watch every out-of-market game live in HD on over 400 supported devices. Includes a free subscription to At-Bat Premium, the #1 app for live baseball. Blackout and other restrictions apply. Visit MLB.TV for details. 2 down and nobody on. And with the pitcher spot due up, Connor Gillespie will come up as a pinch hitter for the Giants. Striking out Crawford and Blanco to begin the inning. First pitch swinging and a fly ball to left center field. It is playable, and it is Grisham. 3 up, 3 down. A strong inning for O to the bottom of the 8th. The Cardinals still with the lead. The big inning in this game, the bottom of the 6th, when the Cardinals scored 4 times after Matt Carpenter doubled to lead it off. Melendez Diaz doubled him home. That made it 3-2 San Francisco. A walk, a hit batter. Matt Adams then with an infield hit to tie the game at 3. The Cardinals would then take the lead. This Molina bouncer in and out of the glove of Crawford, who was charged with an error on the play. A run crosses to make it 4-3. And then Greg Garcia bouncing into a fielder's choice. Terrific play by Panic, but another run scores on that play. That made it 5-3 St. Louis, and that's what it is now, with the Cardinals coming up in the bottom of the 8th inning. Bit sloppy on both sides at times tonight. A total of 5 wild pitches in the game, 2 of which theoretically could have been scored as pass balls. Stephen Piscotty takes just outside ball 1 from the new pitcher, Aaron Josh Osich.
Yeah, fastball mid-90s, which is a bit redundant for relievers nowadays. But as you can see, on for the 30th time, fastball, cutter, changeup.
And Piscotty drives it to deep left field. But Williamson has room on the edge of the track.
Looks like this ball might have gotten in on the hands just a little bit of Piscotty. 97 miles an hour as we get a good look at the side. Just look at the posture. Not a lot of head movement. Real simple swing, and that ball just a little bit on the hands. Came real close to still driving it out of the ballpark, but he's not pleased.
Here's Matt Adams. And a strike of the knees, 1-1. St. Louis closer Trevor Rosenthal is up in the pen. This is going to be his 3rd appearance in as many nights. And the first 2 couldn't have been more different. On Friday night, he came in and faced 3 batters, walked them all. Didn't get an out. And then last night he came in and had a 3 up, 3 down, 12-pitch inning to secure a save. So Mike Matheny will use his closer for the 3rd time in as many games. Rosenthal hasn't had a ton of work because the Cardinals have had a really good offense. They've blown out a lot of teams. They've won a lot of games by wide margins, so Rosenthal's only had 10 save opportunities in about the first third of the season. And Adams lines one into right field. He's had a good night. After we're done here in St. Louis, close out your weekend with Sports Center at night with Bucci, John Anderson, and Stan Verrett. Bucci and Anderson anchor our coverage in Bristol. Stan and the crew are at Oracle Arena, providing a complete breakdown of the Game 2 win for the Warriors over the Cavs. Plus, all the highlights from the French Open men's final, around baseball, the final round of the Memorial, and the rest of the day in sports. Sports Center at night, next on ESPN, and also streaming live on Watch ESPN and the ESPN app. Here's Yadier Molina. And a base hit into left field. First and second for the Cardinals with a 1 out. And with the pitcher spot, O spot due up next, we will see a pinch hitter in Jed Jerko.
Yeah, the right-handed, another good bat off the bench for this Cardinal team. Power from the right side. With Cantos getting ready, so far no move from Bruce Bochy over there in the dugout to go get Osich. So
we talked about the crazy good pinch hitting numbers that the Cardinals have this year, leading baseball in every significant category as pinch hitters. Jerko this year is just 1 for 9 though as a pinch hitter, but 10 pinch hit home runs. Hazelbaker's got 3, Moss has 3, Adams has 2, Diaz with 1, and Garcia with 1. We mentioned after the 10 home runs the Cardinals have, the Nationals are next at 8, the Pirates are next at 4, and then nobody else has more than 2. And another base hit. Everybody up a bag, and they're loaded.
great approach by Jerko there after laying off the first pitch changeup that was a borderline strike perhaps, but once he fell behind, that's the third pitch for Osich. You know that's after a changeup, 1-0 count. It's time to go hunt a fastball. Pick a side of the plate you want to hunt. A little cut fastball really stays in the heart of the plate, and Jerko's ready to jump all over it. And the only thing he didn't do is elevate that. Otherwise, that would have been extra bases.
So another pinch hit for the Cardinals, and the end of the line for Josh Osich. Right-hander George Cantos will inherit a bases loaded, one-out situation with Randall Grichuk coming up for St. Louis. Coming up tomorrow night, Monday Night Baseball on ESPN2. The Chicago Cubs will be in Philadelphia, kicking off a great week of Major League action on the ESPN family of networks. Tuesday night, it'll be the Mets and the Pirates, and then a doubleheader Sunday night, 5 o'clock Eastern time. The Cardinals and the Pirates, and we'll bring you the Dodgers and the Giants at 8:30 Eastern time, 1 week from tonight. Right-hander George Cantos inherits a bases loaded, one-out situation here in the bottom of the 8th.
Fastball, cutter, slider, occasional curveball change, so a number of pitches, but it's a lot of fastball cutter combinations, and then work the slider a little slower off of that pitch.
Randall Grichuk is the batter, 1 for 3, doubled and scored way back in the 3rd. The Cardinals' first run of the night. Trying to give Trevor Rosenthal a little bit more of a cushion here, add on some insurance runs in the bottom of the 8th. Cantos is the 6th pitcher of the night for the Giants. Adams, Molina, and Jerko with consecutive singles to load the bases. And a chopper weakly hit to short. Crawford's only play is to first. That'll get another run home to make it 6-3 St. Louis.
Well, it went with the cutter. Weak contact here, and Crawford gets a good read and really flies to this ball and gets to it quickly. And you know the whole time going after it that hard, just desperately wanting to maybe cut off the run at home, but realizing no chance but to take the out at first base, and an insurance run here for the Cardinals in the home half of the 8th.
So second and third, 2 down for Colton Wong. Second at bat of the night, popped up his first time up. So thinking ahead a little bit, depending on who's still on the team when Peralta gets activated. On any given night at second base, you could see Carpenter, you could see Garcia, you could see Wong, you could see Jerko. 4 different guys who could be the starting second baseman. Now who knows, maybe one of them's not here when Peralta gets activated.
And Diaz. He said that 2 weeks ago they had him working out at second base.
So it might be a different lineup every day for Mike Matheny. Bouncer backs up Belt, and DeConto's just in time to end the inning. So the Cardinals tack on a run. They now lead 6-3 at the end of 8. Trevor Rosenthal, the closer, getting ready to come on in and try to nail it down. Sunday from the seats here at Busch Stadium in St. Louis. The first of 3 weeks in a row. We'll be broadcasting from a location in the seats. We'll do it next week in San Francisco, the week after that at Wrigley. You know, I can see you.
Oh,
yeah. He's Aaron Boone. I'm Dan Shulman. We go to the top of the 9th inning. The Cardinals lead the Giants 6-3, and closer Trevor Rosenthal is into the game, pitching for the 3rd time Boone in as many nights.
yeah, as you touched on, a rough outing on Friday, but bounced back with a real easy save last night. Real efficient inning. You look at 16 walks in 18 innings. It has been an issue. And you started to touch on it, that regular work, because they've scored so many runs, there just hasn't been that many save opportunities. So that regular work, they feel like, will help straighten out that lack of command he's had at times.
Trevor Brown leads off the 9th inning for the Giants. Scheduled are Brown, Mac Williamson, and Denard Span. 8, 9, and 1 in the lineup right now. Remember, Buster Posey is on the bench, did not start the game. When Rosenthal has come into a game in a save situation, he's been great. He has not been great in non-save situations, and again, he hasn't had that many opportunities because of how many runs they have scored and how many times they've blown the opposition out. St. Louis at times has been kind of an all or nothing offense, so not a lot of close games for Rosenthal as he gives up a leadoff base hit to Brown.
And that's why I think Mike Matheny, first off, last night was so excited that he was able to get him right back into a game in a save situation, and for him to have such an efficient inning. But then again, even a 3rd day in a row here, feels like this regular work in save situations will really help benefit his closer and potentially help get him rolling from a command standpoint.
Kelby Tomlinson is going to pinch hit for Mac Williamson. Tomlinson hitting .306 on the season and 4 for 9 as a pinch hitter this year. So Bruce Bochy probably thinking if there's a good opportunity where the tying run is at the plate, that could be a spot for Buster Posey. Tomlinson, a very good hitter, hits for an average. Up here with the Giants down 3 and the leadoff man aboard in the 9th inning as he takes a strike 1-1.
97 on that fastball in the outer half. His best secondary pitch is a changeup. He will throw a curveball, which actually is the pitch Brown got the base hit on. The changeup's his #1 secondary.
Ground ball to short, to second one, to first, double play. And just like that, the Cardinals are an out away. Cubs and Phillies tomorrow night. Mets and the Pirates Tuesday, and then a doubleheader Sunday. The Cardinals and the Pirates, and the Dodgers and the Giants. Sports Center is next here on ESPN. Find out everything you need to know about Game 2 of the NBA Finals. Novak Djokovic winning the French Open. And a busy day around Major League Baseball. Big day for Jose Fernandez of the Marlins. Here's Denard Span. And a strike. Just way upstairs with an off-speed pitch. Changeup that looked like it slipped out of his hand, and it's a ball and a strike.
Yeah, it's the first changeup he's thrown this inning. And you know, if he's out of the zone, Span will make you work. 3-run lead, 2 outs. Expect that heater.
Doubled up on the changeup, but he missed outside.
I've been calling some pitches wrong a lot tonight. Thought for sure that was a fastball situation. Yachty looks like he's shaken up a little back there. Remember the thumb issues he's had. Looks like he's maybe caught one a little funny.
There's the fastball, 2-2. Span shaking his head. Might have thought both called strikes were outside. Molina sizing him up, waiting for Span to get back on the box. Cardinals a strike away. Back to the changeup. Or did he shake off it to the fastball? He did. Grounded back to the mound. Backhanded by Rosenthal. And that's the ball game. So Rosenthal picks up his second save in as many nights. The Cardinals take 2 out of 3 from the Giants.
A little behind the back action here as Trevor Rosenthal on for the 3rd night in a row. Closes his 2nd game in a row as they take the series from the San Francisco Giants. Maybe springboarding and getting their season starting to roll in the right direction.
A 4-run bottom of the 6th. The big inning for the Cardinals tonight. Carlos Martinez gets the win. Trevor Rosenthal to save. Jake Peavy suffers the defeat as the Cardinals beat the Giants 6-3 and take 2 out of 3 from the NL West leaders here at Busch Stadium. For Aaron Boone, Buster Olney, and our entire ESPN crew, I'm Dan Shulman saying so long. Good night from Busch Stadium. Thanks for watching. SportsCenter is next.